All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Lal, and we are going to commence with our state all-purpose calendar for today, September 29th, 2021. This is the 9 a.m. calendar in which we are going to be addressing misdemeanor cases with the Fulton County State Court. These cases have been recently accused. All the cases have bonds set in them. And today we're going to be addressing each defendant on a one-on-one basis to determine the status of the case. Certain cases, the defendant may have accepted the recommendation from the prosecutor, which is the Solicitor General's Office of Fulton County, and decided to enter into a plea arrangement. In other words, pleading guilty and no contest to one or more charges in exchange for a recommended sentence. In certain other matters, the defendant may choose to enter a plea of not guilty, and then the case will be arraigned and scheduled for trial in the near future. Certain other matters I may address are such things as whether the bond status of particular cases, and as whether they're going to be scheduled for a bench trial. So if you are a defendant charged with one or more misdemeanor offenses, please remember the following. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court is open, virtual, recorded court. Your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one of our attorneys from our public defense office or our conflict defense list will represent you. Who do we have in courtroom 2, please?
Good morning, Your Honor. We have position number 1, Mr. Christopher Adams.
All right, thank you. Mr. Adams' case is 15 CR 011427F. Mr. Adams, you've got a couple of traffic violations, defective and no headlights, driving without valid license, no insurance, and operating a vehicle on a suspended, canceled, or revoked registration from December of 2013. You have been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is going to be Mr. Zach Finling, and this is going to be a negotiated plea. So as soon as Mr. Finling starts his video.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Good morning, Judge. I have a message from Mr. Finling. He just needs a moment to join the Zoom. He's having some technical difficulties with his computer.
No problem.
So we
No
can take
problem.
any of my positions.
All right. We can place Mr. Adams on hold. Deputy, can we take any position from positions 21 onwards or add on 1?
Okay, we have position number 36, Mr. Wheat.
Okay. 36 is going to be a negotiated plea, and let me just zoom to, there we go. Joseph Reed is 22 CR 006232J, accused of criminal trespass in possession of a drug-related object from September 14th, 2022. Mr. Wheat, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Catrice Helen. This is going to be a negotiated plea. May I place you under oath? Mr. Wheat, may I place you under oath?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the information you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Bacchus, good morning. What is the plea recommendation?
Yes, good morning, Your Honor. This is going to be a time served plea. I believe the days are 15 days. So 15 days to serve, credit for time served, 15 days, balance suspended, and stay away from the incident location. Give me 1 second on the incident location, Your Honor.
Okay. And while we're waiting, Ms. Helen, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID, and does your client accept the terms?
He does, Judge, and I
All
do
right.
stipulate.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Reed, while we are trying to determine the location.
Judge, I have a 3749 Campbellton Road, Southwest Atlanta. It's the Texaco. gas
Texaco?
station.
That's correct.
All right,
Thank you.
Campbellton Road, Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, thank you, Ms. Helen. Mr. Wheat, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you understood that if you take this plea offer today, that you won't be able to go back to court and have a trial? You will not confront your accuser, or you will not be able to challenge the state's evidence, examine witnesses, and have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to 1 count of criminal trespass and possession and use of drug-related objects?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 15 days, credit for time served 15 days. That is essentially a time served plea. You'll be released within 24 hours. Just do not return to the Texaco gas station on Campbellton Road, 3749 Campbellton. Otherwise, they get to arrest you again, and we do this all over again.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Next, Your Honor, we have position number 38, Mr. Brandon Wood.
Okay. This is Brandon Christopher Wood, case number 22 CR 006246E. Mr. Wood is accused of battery, domestic violence from a September 5th, 2022 incident. Mr. Wood, I understand that you'll be entering a not guilty plea. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Catrice Helen. Ms. Helen, do we waive a reading of the accusation?
I do, Judge.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wood, as I mentioned, you've been accused of 1 misdemeanor offense, battery, domestic violence, allegedly occurring on September 5th of this year in Fulton County. Upon your entry of a not guilty plea, the case will be scheduled for trial. At the time of the trial, the prosecution would have the complete burden to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. If the state does prevail and overcome your legal presumption of innocence, you could be convicted and face a penalty of up to a year in prison and or up to $1,000 fine. Given this information, how do you plead?
Not guilty.
Your case has been arraigned. Did you want to address bond, Ms. Helen?
I did, Judge.
All right, and you may proceed.
Judge, can I get pretrial to give his recent history?
All right, Ms. Harrison.
I'm sorry, I don't have a history on this defendant.
All right, Ms. Backus, do you have a GCIC on Mr. Wood?
I do, Your Honor. It looks like he has 29 cycles from 1998 to 2022. I have the last 5 plus violent offenses. He also has 3 very remote Alabama cycles. So I will give you, let's see. So the last conviction that I see is 2010, ag assault, robbery, possession of a knife or firearm during felony, receipt of firearm by convicted felon. He got 13 years confinement, 2 years probation. I believe he was released in 2018. Before that, 2009, possession of a firearm by convicted felon. He also has 2009 conviction for 2 counts of ag assault, possession of knife or firearm during felony, receipt of firearm by convicted felon. That was 10 years confinement, 5 years probation. He also has a 2006 battery. And Your Honor, again, I'm giving you these remote convictions because he was incarcerated for that lengthy period. And then I see a simple battery as well in 2002. Currently, Your Honor,
Yeah, go ahead.
current,
Well, let me go. I just needed a GCIC. Let's hear from Ms. Helen first. Ms.
Sure.
Helen?
Yes, Judge. I wanted to see what the state had for his history, because when I went and spoke to Mr. Wood, especially the 2010, 2009 case, those were reduced. Those charges were reduced. That's what I have from him. So I wanted to see if the state and pretrial had that too, that he was not convicted of aggravated assault or robbery, that it was actually reduced to a criminal damage felony. of property, Judge. I have Mr. Wood here today. I'm not sure who those alleged accusers are in those cases, but Mr. Wood has just been released from the Georgia Department of Corrections, I believe, this year. And this case, I don't believe is Miss Jasmine Brewer is the alleged accuser, as mentioned in those other cases, Judge. So we're going to go with the Ayala factors. We are asking for a signature bond for Mr. Wood for this battery family violence in the same amount. Going through the Ayala factors, I hear his case or his history, Judge. But like I said, when I spoke to Mr. Wood, several of those convictions had been modified and reduced, Judge. And so I do not believe he's a danger to Miss Brewer. I do not believe that he's a danger to the community. Again, he's just been released. He understands how serious his history is and how serious this charge is. So Judge, he takes this very seriously. He's requesting a full jury trial, but we are asking that the bond be modified to a $4,000 signature. Again, I don't believe he's going to miss any court dates. He knows how serious this is. He's not going to have any interaction with Ms. Brewer. He wants no contact. No contact. I believe Ms. Brewer requested to have contact with him. He wants no contact with her. He believes that she is a danger to him, Judge. So we are asking for that bond modification today. And if you are unwilling for the signature bond, we are asking for a bond modification, no more $1,500 for this battery family violence, to give Mr. Wood an opportunity to bond out and fight this case from the outside.
Thank you. Ms. Backus, any response? I've already read the warrant. Anything else to add?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm looking at the GCIC now, and I see he was convicted of these charges. There were certain charges that were null pros, but the ones that I mentioned to you, they were not. He was convicted of those based on the GCIC. So based on the history, Your Honor, based on the nature of the offense, he is a danger, which she said she was fearful. He is a danger to Jasmine Brewer, and he has been a danger to the community, and he has an extensive history. And for those reasons, we are asking that the $4,000 surety bond would stay in place. Nothing further.
Bond modified to 2,500, it's a surety bond. No further contact with Jasmine Brewer. Stay away from 1209 Hadley Drive in Union City, Georgia. All other provisions remain the same. The case is arraigned and set for trial. If Mr. Wood does not make bond, he will be notified in jail of his trial date. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
Before we get to Mr. Adams, who do we have for South?
Position number 6.
All right, that's Mr. Finley's client? No. Did you say 6?
I did. Last name Dorsey.
Dorsey, okay. Let's place Mr. Dorsey on hold. We'll take Christopher Adams, who was position 1 in the courtroom. Mr. Adams had the traffic-related offenses that had listed from December 17, 2013. Your attorney is Mr. Finley, and I'll remind you that you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Mr. Finley, this is going to be your client negotiated plea. So I'm going to place Mr. Adams under oath. Mr. Adams, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the information you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, Ms. Tortorella, what's the plea recommendation for? I understand positions 1, 2, and 3 are null prost. So we are only taking a plea on the suspended or canceled registration.
Correct, Your Honor. So it'll be 12 months to serve, credit for time served, bound, suspended for that count 4.
All right. Was it 3 days?
Let me check that, Your Honor.
All right.
For you. Give me 1 second. And does defense stipulate to the facts, venue, and ID of the matter?
I do.
All right.
Hold on, Your Honor. I'm almost there.
Okay. I've got 9 days.
You're probably right.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
9 days? Okay. All right. Mr. Finling, you've already entered the stipulations. Does your client accept the terms?
Yes, Judge. That is our understanding of the terms. We do agree.
Thank you. Mr. Adams, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, Your Honor.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you decide to take this plea to this one count of operating a vehicle on a canceled registration, you will give up your right to ever go back to court and challenge this case in a court of law. You will not be able to confront your accuser, challenge the state's evidence, present your own defenses, or have the state try to prove all 4 charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
How do you plead to one count of operating a vehicle on a canceled, revoked, or suspended registration?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 9 days, credit for time served 9 days, balance suspended. That concludes your case. Counts 1, 2, and 3 are null prost. Thank you, sir. All right, for South, we have Mr. Dorsey. Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. Ronald Monquis Dorsey Jr. is accused of one count of battery from February 20th, 2022 in case 22 CR 006-463A. Mr. Dorsey, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Zach Hinling. This is going to be a negotiated plea. May I place you under oath? Mr. Dorsey, okay. Do you solemnly swear the information you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge? Thank you. Ms. Tortorella, what's the plea offer for Mr. Dorsey?
Yes, Your Honor, it would be 12 months, served 221 days, credit for time served, 221 days, balance probated, 12-week anger management, no contact with the victim. His name is Naval Hoskins. The first name is spelled N as in Nancy, E, V as in Victor, A, L as in log. And the last name is Hoskins, H-O-S as in Sam, K-I-N-S. And to stay away from the incident location at 5021 Old National Highway in College Park. Does opposing counsel stipulate to the facts, venue, and ID of the matter?
I do.
Nothing further.
All right, Mr. Findling, does the client have any other holds?
Yes, Judge, he does.
All right, and what's the likelihood of completing the 12-week anger management in the remainder of the 140 days left on the sentence?
I mean, if we could do, an 8-week anger management, Judge, I think that would be beneficial to him. He did understand the anger management condition, and he did agree to do that, Your Honor.
Mr. Tortorello, the only reason I raised this is because Mr. Dorsey is not going to be released immediately, and I don't know when he's going to get cracking on those classes, and there's only about 140 days left. So just trying to be real around here. Any objection to an 8-week anger management?
And no objection, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Dorsey, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And you understand that once you are released from jail and any other matters that are holding you, that you would have to complete an 8-week anger management program to satisfy this sentence. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you decide to take this plea offer, you would have to give up your right to having a trial in court of law, to face a judge or a jury so that you can confront your accuser, challenge the state's evidence, present any defenses if you choose to do so, as well as have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of battery?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 221 days, credit for the same time. You'll be placed on probation. I will waive all your probation fees so that you can complete an 8-week anger management program as soon as possible. Once you've completed your 8-week anger management program, your probation will terminate. You are to stay away from Mr. Hoskins and do not go back to 5021 Old National Highway in College Park. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Best of luck.
Next, we have position number 12, Mr. Gregory Harris.
Thank you. It looks like the Spanish interpreter is not available till about 10 a.m. All right. Thank you. Just want to confirm that. We log on around 10 o'clock for position 27.
I don't have the login. I could.
Um,
never provided the Zoom link or anything.
If you can email michael.jordan@fultoncountyga.gov, he will send you the link. Okay. All right, I apologize, courtroom 2, what was that position again? Was it number 10?
It's 12,
12, excuse me.
yes.
All right, we have Gregory Harris, case number 20 CR 00333-6C, accused of battery domestic violence from May 21st, 2020. Mr. Harris, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Zachary Finley. This is going to be a private counsel, Jewel McReynolds. Jewel McReynolds. Mr. Harris, is that your attorney? Jules McReynolds?
You say Joel Medron?
Yeah.
I think so. I don't know.
Have you spoken to him or her?
Did I speak to her?
Did you speak to him? Yes.
No.
Okay. You are not represented by the Public Defender's Office. I have no idea why your attorney has not reached out to you. Do you have Mr. Jordan, do we have a number for this attorney? McReynolds Jr.? If there is an attorney, McReynolds Jr. on Zoom or an associate, this.
Judge, which position are you in?
12.
12? I'll check.
All right. Deputy, we don't have attorney McReynolds on Zoom, and the attorney in the courtroom is not Mr. McReynolds. So I'll take the next case until Mr. McReynolds shows up.
We got position number 25 and 26.
All right,
Anthony Moses.
thank you. And is Anthony Moses in courtroom 2?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Thank you. Who do we have in 4 South?
4 South is position number 33.
33. All right, thank you. All right, Mr. DeAnthony Moses in courtroom number 2 has 2 cases, 22 CR 006222J, accused of battery domestic violence from July 14, 2022. The second case is 22 CR 006223J, and this is willful obstruction of an officer from September 14th, 2022. Mr. Moses, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Catrice Helen. This is going to be is this correct?
He has 2 cases, Judge. For the first one, we're going to request a bond hearing. For the second one is a negotiated plea.
Okay, all right. Do you waive arraignment for position 25, or would you like me to arraign your client?
I waive arraignment, Your Honor.
You waive arraignment?
Yes, Judge.
All right, you filed that in writing?
Yes,
With
Judge.
April Champion, please. Okay. So position 25 has waived arraignment, and Mr. Moses has entered a not guilty plea and will be further notice for trial. And with regards to position 26, this is going to be a negotiated plea. Let's go with the negotiated plea first. Mr. Moses, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, so Mr. Backus, what is the plea offer for the willful obstruction of an officer charge from September 14th of this year?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's offer was 12 months, 30 days to serve, credit for time served 15 days, balance suspended, and stay away from the incident location, which is 1371 Kimberly Way.
Correct, Judge. That is our understanding of the plea. We accept that plea and we stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID. Judge, and just for position 25, if we can address bond.
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
Mr. Moses, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings as far as it concerns your case for willful obstruction of an officer?
Yes, ma'am.
Because that's the only case we're addressing right now. Do you understand?
I thought we was addressing the domestic violence.
We're going to address the bond and the other case later, but for purposes of entering a guilty plea, the only charge we're addressing is the willful obstruction. Do you understand?
So basically, we're not gonna handle the first charge either.
Mr. Moses, I understand that you're pleading not guilty to the older case, and we're going to address bond afterwards. Right now, I understand you want to enter a guilty plea to the willful obstruction of an officer in exchange for a time-served plea. Is that how you still want to proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so again, we are only addressing the willful obstruction presently. Are you satisfied with your attorney's representation in that case?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you entering this guilty plea freely, willingly, and knowingly?
Yes, ma'am.
And you understand that entering this guilty plea could have a negative impact upon any open cases you have against you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and in entering this plea, you will have to waive your constitutional right to a trial. You would have to waive your right to go back to court, confront your accuser, examine witnesses, present your any defenses you may have, challenge the state's evidence, and have the prosecution try to prove the case against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of willful obstruction of an officer?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. The remainder of the time is suspended. You will need to stay away from 1371 Kimberly Way in Atlanta, Georgia. Moving on back to 22 CR 006222J. Mr. Anthony was accused of battery, domestic violence from July 14, 2022. And with regards to this case, he does have a good bond. So, Ms. Harrison, do you have the priors for Mr. Moses from position 25?
Yes, I'm showing 11 cycles. Last arrest was October of 2019 for possession of drug-related objects in Fulton County. No disposition listed in that arrest. Record does indicate an open probation in Fulton County for theft by taking. Case number 19 SC 165522, sentenced December of 2020, 2 years probation.
Thank you. Ms. Helen?
Yes, Judge, we're having this bond hearing today because I want to request a bond modification for Mr. Moses. Currently, his bond sits at a $3,000 surety. I am requesting that it be modified to a signature bond. When I spoke to Mr. Moses, he didn't have a history of violence towards anyone. He is not the individual that is a long historical violent offender. So, Judge, we are asking for that bond modification, and we'll go into the Ayala factors. He's 25 years old. He's a lifetime resident of Fulton County. He is currently employed, believes he'll be able to get his job back at the high school, Kemp High School. Judge, he also is looking to get his HVAC certification after he gets his GED. So, Judge, he's got a life ahead of him. He's got goals he'd like to achieve. And also currently he is a proud father of 5 children. One he does share with the alleged accuser, but he's willing to have any type of third-party visitation. He has a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 1-year-old girl, and a newborn. Judge, he needs to be out working. He needs to get back to his family, and he would like to fight this case from the outside. So we are asking first for that to be a signature bond, Judge. If you feel that he's ineligible for that signature bond, we are asking for a $1,000 bond for that battery family violence, Judge.
All right. Ms. Bacchus?
Yes, Your Honor. The state is asking that the $2,500 surety bond remain in place. He has, he has 11 cycles in the last, from 2014 to 2022. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of which are in the last 4 years. He is currently on probation. With this same victim, he currently has a TPO order against him for domestic violence, Your Honor. And so not only is he a potential danger to the victim in this case, but he also has a likelihood to reoffend. And so we are trying to ensure that he will come back to court. And so we're asking that $2,500 surety bond remain in place, nothing further.
Ms. Helen, I'm going to maintain the same bond. There isn't anything new factors that I've discovered from 2 weeks ago. This is the bond set by me based on the very same exact fact pattern and criminal record history. And in regards to the open cases that he has against him as well, he doesn't qualify for a signature bond. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Moses, did you understand what just happened? Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. For South, we have position 33.
And that's a negotiated plea, Your Honor.
All right. I just got a note from Mr. Finley, position number 10 and position number 13 are going to be a 1-week reset. Well, position number 10 was released, Mr. Finley, so not sure. And position number 13 was also released.
Yeah.
Your Honor, position
Yes, you're-
13 was not released.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yes.
13 was not released, so that's
No,
going to be a,
He has an alias.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay, so position number 13 is going to be a 1-week reset to, what was it, October 6th? And position 10, is that
Yeah.
released?
so Judge, if they could be reset 1 week as well, I went to the jail yesterday and the jail said that they were both released, but it turns out they are not.
Okay, so position 10 and 13 are reset to, I think October 6th is Thursday, so. All right, moving on to position number 33, Mr. Matthew Stovall is case 22 CR 006-362J. He is located at the 4 South panel. And Mr. Stovall is accused of criminal trespass from September 10th, 2022. Mr. Stovall, you are advised that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Catrice Helen. With regards to this case, this is going to be a negotiated plea, and I'm right, fortunately. Okay, Mr. Stovall, you are apparently made a decision to enter a plea of guilty to the charge, so may I place you under oath for purposes of the hearing? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Backus, the sentence recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. It is 12 months, 38 days to serve, credit for time served, 19 days, balance suspended. Stay away from the incident location, which is 1891 Cheshire Bridge Road, and no further contact with the victim, Teddy White.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Ms. Helen, do you enter the necessary stipulations, and does your client agree to those terms?
I do, Judge. What was that address again?
1891 Cheshire Bridge Road in Atlanta, Georgia. No contact with Teddy White.
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Stovall, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
And are you entering a plea willingly, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Has your attorney explained to you that if you decide to take this plea, that you will not have an opportunity to have a trial in front of a judge or a jury? You will not have the counsel's assistance to challenge the state's evidence, present your defenses, confront your accuser, examine witnesses, and have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
How do you plead to 1 count of criminal trespass?
I plead guilty, Your Honor.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 38 days, credit for time served 19 days. The remainder of the time will be suspended. Your jail time is concluded and you don't have any probation. Once you're released, you are to stay away from 1891 Cheshire Bridge Road, and you have to also stay away from Mr. Teddy White. If you violate these conditions, you could be arrested again on new charges. Understood?
Yes, ma'am. I do have one question.
Go ahead.
Just so I'm just so I understand. Essentially, my time served is up today, correct?
Correct.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to make sure.
They take up to 24 hours to release you. So unfortunately, it takes that long to process you out.
Yes, ma'am.
Good luck.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
This courtroom 2, who do we have, please?
Got 31.
We have Ryan Powers, case number 22 CR 006-282F, accused of simple battery. Mr. Powers, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Catrice Helen. With regards to 31, this is a negotiated plea.
Tell Matt,
Um,
tell Matt to come too. They're not answering the phone. I don't know.
Is this a plea, Mr. Powers? Mr. Powers, are you entering a plea?
I plead guilty.
All right, sir. So before we begin, may I place you under oath?
Yeah,
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Bacchus, what's the plea recommendation for Mr. Powers?
Yes, Your Honor, 12 months, 26 days to serve, credit for time served, 13 days, balance probated, 12 weeks anger management, and no further contact with Melissa Rainey.
Ms. Helen, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue and ID, and those are terms to which your client has agreed?
I do, Judge. And can I just have that address again?
I don't think there was a stay away, but it was, but the address was 1820 Peachtree Street.
I had 12 weeks anger management and no contact with Melissa Rainey. Was that something else?
No, Judge. That's our understanding of the plea. We stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID. This is a probated sentence, Judge, so we are asking for at least 6 months of probation fees if you're amenable to that, because Mr. Powers is definitely residentially challenged as far as not having the income to immediately pay probation.
I will waive probation fees up to and including the end of March of 2023. That means up to March 31st, 2023. After which then, if he's completed the anger management classes, then I will place him on non-reporting basis unless the state has an objection.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. Maybe
Understood.
proceed, Sarah?
Yes, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Powers, first of all, if we can unmute courtroom 2, please. He's going to have to answer some questions. Have you consumed any kind of medication or alcohol recently?
No,
And have you understood your attorney and the proceedings so far?
no, I hope I get my ass kicked today. I don't give a fuck about your court.
All right, so this
Oh.
case is reset to next Thursday until Mr. Powers decides how to speak English. Thank you.
And I'll have a social worker go out and speak to Mr. Powers, Judge, so thank you.
Are we resetting this for the 1 week at the 4th or the 6th?
The
It's going to
6th.
be October 6th.
Okay, thank you.
Position,
All right, courtroom 2, who do we have, please?
position 15.
All right, position 15, and we have Mr. Montrese Ivory. Are you Mr. Ivory, sir?
Yes,
Thank you. Mr. Ivory, your case number is 22 CR 006-280C. Mr. Ivory, you've been accused of simple battery domestic violence from September 16, 2022. And with regards to this charge, you've been advised of your right to remain silent and that your attorney is Mr. Zach Finling. With regards to this case, Mr. Finling, is this going to be a negotiated plea as well?
No, Judge, this is going to be
Arraignment.
arraignment and a address bond if we could.
Okay, and do you waive a reading of the accusation?
I do, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Ivory, I understand that you'll be entering a not guilty plea to this particular charge. Upon the entry of such a plea, the case will be scheduled for trial. At the time of the trial, the prosecutor would have the complete burden to prove the charge, this misdemeanor charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. They have the complete burden to do so, and they have to overcome your legal presumption of innocence. If the state does prevail, you could be convicted and face a penalty of up to a year in prison and or up to $1,000 fine. Given this information, how do you plead?
Not guilty.
All right. Your case has been arraigned. Let us address your bond. This was a simple battery domestic violence. Miss Harrison, could you give us his recent history, please?
One moment. For 15 cycles. Last arrest was April of this year for probation violation. Underlying charge is not indicated. Record does reflect an open case pending in Fulton County, 20 CP 196069 for aggravated assault, family violence. Additional open case. Wait, one
Yes,
moment.
I'm sorry. That was, does he have more than one?
He has an open probation for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Case number 17 SC 154768, 2 counts. He was sentenced to 9 years probation, 1 year confinement. He has additional charges. I'm sorry, one moment. Possession of firearm or knife during the commission of a felony. And on that charge, he received 5 years probation.
All right.
And he has history in Texas, Florida, and Georgia.
All right. This was from, okay, guys, you're telling me, I'm trying to scrape my memory here, but I believe there was an issue of the same alleged victim. So, Mr. Findling, go ahead. You may proceed.
Yes, Judge. Right now, Mr. Ivory does have a $3,000 cash bond. Obviously, I do understand the severity of this charge, and I do understand his recent criminal history. So that is definitely not lost on me. This case does involve his wife. They've been together for 4 years. He works full-time at a bakery. They do raise one child together who turns 3 in December. He is not a flight risk, Your Honor. He has every intention of returning to court. Obviously, as you know, he is being held on something else. But I just am asking for this cash bond to be converted to a surety bond in hopes that if something does happen in another case, he does have a fighting chance at making this bond. But once again, Judge, it's not lost on me. The other things he's battling in the criminal justice system, but just want to give Mr. Ivory a fighting chance at making bond, Your Honor.
Understood. Thank you. Ms. Lavonda Ivory is also on the Zoom. Ms. Ivory, this is Judge Lal. If you do not want to say anything, you have that right. If you'd like to contribute, I would need you to start your video and place you under oath. So while I'm listening to the prosecutor, you can decide what you'd like to do. Ms. Tortorella?
Yes, Your Honor. The state is asking for the $3,000 cash bond to remain the same with the same conditions. This defendant does pose a flight risk, danger and threat to any person in the community, and he poses a risk of reoffending and committing felonies while out on bond. Your Honor, as you heard from pretrial, he's currently being held on his felony case 17 SC 154768 for aggravated assault, deadly weapon, 2 counts, and possession of firearm during a commission of felony, 2 counts with no bond. This is due to a violation of his probation, and in this matter, he shot at the 2 victims. For the other open case that he has against the same victim before this court, it's 20 CP 196099. He's being charged with aggravated assault, family violence. The offense occurred on December 12, 2020. He received a $25,000 surety bond. and was released on said bond on July 2nd, 2021. In this case, Your Honor, the defendant became angry after an argument and placed a knife to the neck of the victim. Her name is Ms. LaWanda Rucker. He's currently in direct violation of this bond order. His superior court bond ordered the defendant not to have contact with Ms. Rucker. This was ordered on July 1st, 2021 by Judge Rickman. As far as danger and threat to the person of Ms. Rucker, in this matter, Your Honor, the South Fulton Police Department responded to the incident location at 4455 Fulton Industrial Boulevard. Upon arrival, the officer met with Ms. Rucker, who advised she and her boyfriend, later identified as defendant Montrese Ivory, got into a verbal altercation. Ms. Rucker grabbed her keys from the ignition and exited the vehicle. The defendant got out of the vehicle and chased her in the parking lot of the gas station. When the defendant caught up with Ms. Rucker, he slammed her to the ground and started to punch her in the face with a closed fist. The officer met with witnesses on the scene who advised they also observed the defendant on top of Ms. Rucker while she was on the ground. He does pose a risk of intimidating this victim, Your Honor. It's foreseeable due to the facts. It's foreseeable due to the prior case that he has against her. He was supposed to have no contact with her. He's still having contact, and then this subsequent case occurred. As far as risk of reoffending, 11 cycles out of Georgia, 1 cycle out of Florida, 6 cycles out of Texas. He pled guilty to aggravated assault in 2018 in Fulton County. He pled guilty to assault bodily injury in 2013 out of Dallas, Texas, and in 2012 as well for assault, which causes bodily injury, 2 counts out of Denton, Texas. Your Honor, he has a violent criminal history, and just given the history with this victim, Your Honor, the fact that he's violated his superior court bond order, we are in fear for the victim, Your Honor, and we're asking for that $3,000 cash bond to remain as set. Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Any rebuttal, Mr. Finley?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Unfortunately, I still don't see any grounds to change the bond. He has a disturbing history of violence. I do not understand the particular reasons for it, but this was a very recent incident from September 16, 2022. And he was on probation for significantly violent charges as well. So I'm sorry, no change to the bond presently. Thank you. All right, courtroom 2, you can unmute. Mr. Ivory, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you.
Okay, Your Honor, I love my wife. I've never put my hands on my wife in the 4 years that we've been together.
Mr. Ivory, hey man, I would recommend, my best advice would be to let me speak on your behalf and not.
You're not saying anything though. You're not saying anything on my behalf, sir.
Well, today is not about the facts of the case, sir. Today is about addressing bond for you.
Mr. Ivory, your client, your attorney is doing an excellent job for you. What is holding you in jail is the fact that you have an open probation case, you have an open felony case involving aggravated assault and firearms. You've got an open case against the woman who is now your wife.
Okay,
Do you understand? If you are claiming right now that you have never.
My case was dismissed on June 15th against my wife for that assault with a knife. It was dismissed. Okay, so regardless of what you guys are saying, the judge dismissed that case, and I went back to non-report on that charge. So for this
anger you're showing even convinces me even more that your bond should not change.
Oh my God.
Thank you. Next case, please. Oh, I have 4 North. Who do I have in 4 North? The poor gentleman's very cold. Good morning, sir.
This is position 23 and 24, Morgan.
23 and 24. Yes, Miss Helen, I got your note about Mr. Moses, position 25, would like to change his not guilty to a guilty plea. So was it Miss Backus?
Correct, Judge.
Yes,
Is the offer still on the table, Miss Backus?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, whenever the jail wants to bring Mr. Moses up, that's fine, but I'm dealing with position 23 and 24 right now.
Your
Mr.
Honor,
Morgan,
position 23 was accidentally on the calendar. He pled on that case on 9/20 of this year.
okay,
Correct, Judge.
all right. So we are just addressing position 24.
Correct, Judge, and that's a negotiated plea.
Okay, so 23 was a former plea and position 24 is a current plea hearing. Case number 22 CR 006-285F. Mr. Isaiah Tyan Morgan is accused of willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer from August 22nd, 2022. Mr. Morgan, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is going to be Ms. Catrice Helen. This is going to be a plea hearing, so Mr. Morgan, may I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Bacchus, what's the plea offer, please?
Yes, Your Honor. The plea offer is 12 months. I need to correct these days. 12 months, maybe 50 days to 50 days to serve credit for time served, 25 days, and balance suspended.
All right, thank you. Ms. Helen, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
I do, Judge.
All right, and your client accept these terms?
He does, Judge.
All right. Mr. Morgan, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with your attorney's representation?
Yes.
If you decide to take this plea, you would have to give up your right to go back to court, to challenge this charge in a court of law, to confront your accuser and examine witnesses, to be able to present any defenses, or have the state have proved the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes.
How do you plead to one count of willful obstruction of an officer?
Yes.
How do you plead? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 50 days, credit for time served 25 days, balance suspended. Your obligations for this case is over. Thank you. All right. Courtroom 2, who do we have, please?
We got position number 7, Mr. Dry, Terrell Dry.
All right. Terrell Dry is 21 CR 002515E, accused of battery from May 24th, 2021. Mr. Dry, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Zach Finling. Is this still a non-negotiated matter, Mr. Finling?
Judge, this is now a negotiated plea.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dry, if I may place you under oath, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Thank you. Ms. Tortorella, what is the plea offer for Mr. Dry?
Yes, Your Honor, it will be 12 months served 10 days, credit for time served 10 days, balance probated, 8 weeks of anger management, to stay away from the incident location, which is at the Family Dollar Store, 4145 B as in boy, Highway 29 in Palmetto, Georgia, and no contact with the victim, Star Houston, who is the general manager at that store. Star, traditional spelling in Houston, or Houston, like the city of Houston here, or the county in Houston. Does the defense stipulate to the facts, venue, and ID of the matter?
I do.
Nothing further.
All right, Mr. Finling, depending on where you're from, you either got the spelling at Houston or Houston, so.
Yeah.
All right, so does your client stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
He does, Your Honor. And I would just ask Judge Law that once Mr. Dry completes the 8-week anger management, if he could be non-reporting, he does live in Fayetteville and does not have a car. So that would definitely help him. Also, he does not, finances are an issue in Mr. Dry's life. So if probation fees could be waived on his behalf for a period of time.
All right. And let me see. He was on a bench warrant, right? This was on a bench warrant issue. He's back in jail.
He did miss court.
Okay, all right. I will waive probation fees up to and including through the end of February 2023. And unless the state has any objection, I will place him on a non-reporting basis as long as he completes his 8 weeks of anger management classes.
No objection.
All right. So, Mr. Dry, if we can unmute, please. Do you have you consumed any kind of medication or alcohol recently?
No, not.
All right, and we've just been discussing your probation fees and completing your anger management classes. Have you understood everything that we just discussed?
I think part of zero is better.
If you sit back a little bit and speak up.
Exactly how zero is better, but yes, I understand the situation.
Okay.
Anger management and.
All right, so I'm going to waive your probation fees. You don't have to pay probation fees from now until the end of February. I'm going to require you to report to probation one time only in next week. Then after that, you will report telephonically from Fayetteville. Do you understand? But you must report and give your progress of completing your anger management classes.
Ma'am, I don't live in Fayetteville. I just keep. Move back.
Yes,
Where do you live?
I live in Palmetto. I use the Fayetteville address.
You live in Palmetto?
I live in Palmetto, but I use the Fayetteville address because she's the only thing I got close to family.
So that's in Fulton County. So you can report to probation every month then, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I hope I can report. I'm hoping I can report to Union City somewhere I can.
No. You have to report to Fulton County, 132 Mitchell Street.
That's downtown, right?
Okay.
That's in
So
downtown.
are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you, are you taking this plea willingly, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am. I'll take it.
If you decide to enter a guilty plea to this battery charge, you will have to give up your right to a trial, give up your right to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, have the assistance of counsel to challenge the state's evidence, present your own defenses, and have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of battery?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. You will be placed on probation. You will report to probation at 132 Mitchell Street next Thursday, and where you will continue to report every month. Do you understand?
Okay, so I got to report every month.
Right. There you will I will waive your probation fees from now until the end of February 2023.
Okay.
So I would recommend you use this time to complete your 8 weeks of anger management classes. You can do those classes in Palmetto, in Union City, in Atlanta, wherever you choose to do so. You just make sure that the school that teaches those classes is approved by your probation officer.
Okay.
You just don't pick one, eeny, meeny, miny, moe. You make sure your probation officer says it's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
At all times, you have to stay away from the Family Dollar store in Palmetto and have no contact with this general manager, Star Houston. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
And Mr.
Yes,
Dry,
sir.
I just want to make sure, Mr. Dry, the Fayetteville address is a mailing address though?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. Just make sure you give all your current information to probation next week, next Thursday before 3 p.m. Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right. Do we by any chance have
Have a seat.
position number 27 available? That is going to be our Spanish interpreter case. Good morning, Mr.
Good morning, Your Honor. Good
I
morning,
think Mr.
everyone.
Ortiz is in the back. Yeah, he's in the back.
Yeah, I have Mr. Ortiz here in courtroom too.
All right, and Miss Helen, do you need to speak to him before we proceed? Okay, so if you and Ms. Tolles can exchange phone numbers, then someone can do a three-way call at the jail. The jail number is 404-612-2392.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, who do we have in 4 North?
Position 21, Jones.
21 is Miss Helen's case. Do we have anything from position 1 through 20? Or the probation violation case?
Judge Law,
Yes.
Mr. Ortiz had a private attorney listed on his case. I didn't hear anything back from him though.
Okay, well then we'll move forward with the private attorney. I wasn't able to get that from him because I don't think he speaks. English.
I think Miss Helen, go ahead and talk to him and confirm whether he has private counsel.
Okay, and Mr. Jordan, do you have that counsel's name and number so I can just ask Mr. Ortiz through the translator?
Yes, I'll send it to you. It's,
Okay.
Attorney Lee is his name.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
Jerome Lee. I'll send it to you.
Okay. All right, so in the meantime, 4 North, who do we have? That's position 21. So we're waiting on Miss Helen. Courtroom 2, do we have anyone from positions 1 through 20 or a probation violation case? Or yeah, that's it for Mr. Finley. I'm sorry, courtroom 2, you're on mute.
Yeah, I know. Give me 1 second, Your Honor.
Okay,
I had it all in order. I tried to get it this way, but
okay.
I go to position number 5, Mr. Daniel Dean.
Position number 5 is, yes, Daniel Dean, if he's available. And Mr. Finling, is this still a non-negotiated plea?
This is a negotiated plea, Judge.
All right. Mr. Daniel Dean is case 22 CR 005568G, accused of battery, domestic violence from January 6, 2021. Are you Mr. Daniel Dean?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Dean, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Zach Finling. Just 1 minute, please. Good morning, sir. Are you counsel for a particular case? All right, please. We are doing Zoom court. Is the state all-purpose calendar? Did you have an in-person hearing?
I think it must be the bar.
I'm sorry?
I think it must be the bar. I just got the dates confused.
Oh, we have the Orca calendar for tomorrow. Some of the cases are in person, yes.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for.
All right,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Appreciate it, Judge.
No problem. Okay, sorry about that, Mr. Dean. Mr. Dean, as I was saying, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Zach Finling. We are going to address the plea hearing for the charge of battery, domestic violence. I understand this is now a negotiated plea. May I place you under oath, please? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Tortorella, what's the plea offer, please?
Yes, Your Honor, it's 12 months, served 90 days, credit for time served 42 days, balance probated, no contact with the victim. Her name is Aloriel Jackson. The first name is L-A-U, R as in Robert, I-E, L as in Lamb, Jackson, traditional spelling. Also to stay away from Miss Jackson's husband, Anderson Evans, to stay away from the incident location at 623 Griffin Street in Atlanta, and Family Violence Intervention Program. Does opposing counsel stipulate to the facts, venue, and ID of the matter?
I do.
Nothing further.
And was that no further violent contact with Alario Jackson, or was that no contact?
No contact, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Finling, does your client accept these terms?
Yes, Judge. Mr. Dean does accept these terms, and he does understand that he has to complete the family violence class. I would just ask that the probation fees could be waived for Mr. Dean for a period of time.
I will waive it up to and including the end of April 2023. After that, he would need to continue reporting to probation until his sentence is concluded. Is that acceptable?
That is, Judge.
All right. Mr. Dean, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently? Repeat.
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you entering a plea willingly, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Willingly.
Was that a yes or no?
Say willingly.
Repeat.
Yes.
All right. Because of the mask, some of the words are muffled. So you cannot remove the mask, but you have to make sure you speak clearly.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, Mr. Dean, if you decide to take this plea offer, you would not be able to go back to court and have a trial in front of a judge or a jury. You will not be able to have the assistance of counsel to be able to challenge the state's evidence, present any defenses if you choose to do so, to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up this right or these rights?
Yes.
Repeat.
Yes, yes.
How do you plead to one count of battery, domestic violence from January 6, 2021?
Gotta wait till she finishes and then you ask. Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months. Ms. Tortorello, you said 42 days. Any objection to modifying that to 88 days, 84 days?
You would only have 3 days left to serve, Your Honor, if it's 90. Oh, you're trying to make it time served?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Mr. Dean, I'm modifying the sentence from 12 months to serve 84 days, credit for time served 42 days, which means that your jail time is concluded. You don't have additional jail time. Understood?
Yes, yes.
Okay, if you have no other cases holding you at the Fulton County Jail, you'll be released within 24 hours, but you must report to the probation office next Thursday at 132 Mitchell Street in downtown Atlanta. I will waive your probation fees from now until the end of April 2023. While you're on probation, you will complete a 6-month domestic violence intervention program at your expense. Those are weekly classes, and you must begin those classes within 60 days of being released. Understood, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Your
While
Honor,
I'm sorry?
I apologize for interrupting, Your Honor. I just wanted to let you know he's being held on a felony case with $13,000 surety bond, and he has a 2001 SC case, and he's being held on a judicial hold. Not sure what the circumstances would be for him to be released and start those. So I'm not sure if we can modify he could start probation.
Yeah, it has to be modified. Mr. Pinling, do you
Yes.
agree with that status?
Yes, Judge, he is being held on something else, Your Honor.
Okay, so Mr. Dean, unfortunately, you do have other cases holding you at the jail. So I'm going to modify the sentence to, it's still 12 months to serve 84 days, credit for time served 42 days. So your jail time for this case is over. However, once you are released on the other cases, then and only then shall you report to probation. I will waive your probation fees for the first 7 months, and during which time you would need to complete your domestic violence intervention program. After you've completed after the 7 months, you will continue to report to probation and start paying probation fees for the remainder of the sentence. At all times, you are to have no contact with Ilario Jackson and Anderson Evans, and you're to stay away from 623 Griffin Street in Atlanta, Georgia. You're not to consume any illegal drugs and no weapons and no firearms. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Medical, who do we have?
Position 35.
Did I sign it? April, is it signed? Yes.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
Judge Jesse Lowell. This is Andrew John Teofilo. It's such a pleasure to be meeting you.
Thank you, sir. Same here. Let's see if we can get your case resolved. Mr. Andrew Teofilo, a case number 22 CR 006-178J. Mr. Teofilo, I just want to remind you that you have a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Anything that you say, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Catrice Helen. We
Understood.
will get to 4 North next. Meanwhile, Mr. Teofilo, this is a negotiated plea. So please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Backus, what's the plea offer, please?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's offer is 12 months, 36 days to serve, credit for time served, 18 days, balance probated, theft class, stay away from the incident location, which is 1152 3rd Street Northwest in Atlanta. And I believe restitution for the damaged bike.
And Judge, if we could get the restitution amount, I didn't see it listed.
I do not, give me 1 second. 1 second, Your Honor.
If we don't have an amount, we can remove it.
Trying to see it here.
Going once, going twice,
Thank you. That works.
amount is removed. Okay. Ms. Helen, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue and ID? And does your client accept these terms?
He does, Judge, and I do so stipulate.
Keeping in mind that the owner of the bike can always sue Mr. Teofilo in civil court for property damage. So the restitution, even though it's removed from the plea arrangement, Mr. Teofilo is still subject to property damage liability as long as it's within the statute limitations. Okay, so meanwhile, Mr. Teofilo, have you consumed any medication or alcohol? Oh, please unmute.
Medication, Your Honor. I'm sorry, I'm speaking loudly, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
So have you consumed any medication?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and even after that, are you able to understand your attorney and understand the proceedings? Are you able to understand the proceedings so far?
Yes, Your Honor.
And have you understood your attorney, Miss Helen?
Absolutely. She's incredible, Your Honor.
Okay, so I gather you're satisfied with the representation. Mr. Teofilo, if you decide to plead guilty, you would have to do so willingly and voluntarily. Are you prepared to do that?
Yes, Your Honor. Let me know when I may plead, Your Honor.
Okay, I will.
Thank you, Your Honor.
If you decide to plead guilty, you will have to give up your rights to have a trial. You will not be able to go back to court. You will not have a trial. You will not have the assistance of an attorney to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, challenge the state's evidence, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
How do you plead to 1 count of theft by taking?
I plead guilty. Judge Jesse Law. Yes, Your Honor. I, Andrew John Teofilo, plead guilty. Yes, Your Honor.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 36 days, credit for time served 18 days. Your time at the jail is concluded. If you have no other cases holding you, you will have to report to the probation office next Thursday at 132 Mitchell Street. While you're on probation, you would need to complete an anti-theft class and stay away from 1152 3rd Street in Northwest Atlanta. I will waive your probation fees through the end of this year. If you complete the class after, by the end of this year, your probation will be non-reporting.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
That concludes this case.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right. 4 North, who do we have at 4 North? Position 33, I thought.
Yes, position number 21.
21, excuse me. This is Mondravius Jones at the 4 North location, accused of criminal trespass, criminal simple battery, simple assault, and willful obstruction of an of an officer, not an attorney, from September 6, 2022. Mr. Jones, you have you have a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Any statements that you make, your statements, and those statements can and will be used against you during the course of this proceeding. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Catrice Helen. This is going to be a negotiated plea. So, Ms. Helen, I'm sorry, not Ms. Helen, Ms. Backus, what is the plea? First of all, may I place Mr. Jones under oath? Mr. Jones, please raise your right hand.
Okay.
The other right hand. Yeah, there we go. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Backus, what's the plea recommendation? I understand it's time served on count 1 and count 2 and 3 will merge
Correct.
into count 1. So that leaves us with criminal trespass and willful obstruction of an officer. Yes.
Correct. So for count 1, Your Honor, it's going to be 12 months, 46 days to serve, credit for time served, 23 days, balance suspended. Count 4 is going to be 12 months, 46 days to serve, credit for time served, 23 days, balance probated, 8 weeks of anger management, no further violent contact with, Williams, Sequoia Williams.
Okay.
Sequoia is spelled Sequoia. And stay away from the incident location of 5 Lamar Avenue Northwest.
Ms. Helen, do you stipulate to the factual basis venue and ID, and does your client accept these terms?
He does, Judge, and we do stipulate, it is a probated sentence, so we are asking for at least 4 months, the rest of the year and the first month of the new year, to waive those probation fees for Mr. Jones.
So that would be October, November, December, January, February. So
Or just
until
January.
end of January?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Jones, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood and are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you entering a plea freely, willingly, and knowingly to 1 count of criminal trespass and 1 count of willful obstruction of an attorney, of an officer? I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm stuck on one thing right now. And are you pleading guilty to willful obstruction? Are you freely and willingly pleading guilty to willful obstruction of an officer?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. If I do decide to accept this guilty plea, you would have to knowingly waive your right to a trial, knowingly waive your right to go back to court, confront your accuser, have the assistance of counsel so that you can challenge the state's evidence, present any evidence of defenses, examine witnesses, and have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to 1 count of criminal trespass and 1 count of willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer?
Guilty.
Your sentence on the criminal trespass is 12 months to serve 46 days, credit for time served 23 days, balance suspended. Your sentence for the willful obstruction is 12 months to serve 46 days, credit for time served 23 days. If you have no other holds at the jail, you should be released within 24 hours, but you must report to probation next Thursday at 132 Mitchell Street in downtown Atlanta. Is that all right?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I will waive your probation fees up to from now until the end of January 2023. You will use that time to complete 8 weeks of anger management classes. Once you've completed your classes, your probation will be non-reporting. You have to have no further violent contact with Sequoia Williams and do not return to 5 Lamar Avenue in Northwest Atlanta.
Okay, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Courtroom 2, who do we have?
Your Honor, is it possible to go back to position 25 and 26, Mr. Moses? I think he wants to take a plea on the other charge.
That's perfectly fine. In the meantime, Miss Helen, what's the status with Mr. Ortiz?
Ortiz has a private counsel that he's already hired. I believe Mr. Jordan gave me his number. We just need to translate that in front of Mr. Ortiz and have that counsel appear for him, either if they can contact him today or the next court appearance.
Is that the female
Judge?
attorney who was in the courtroom?
It
Okay.
is. Ms. Brown just said she gave you an entry in the courtroom for his case.
Yeah, but she's not
Attorney
here.
Brown.
Oh, she's
She's
on
all
Zoom,
gone.
Judge.
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm on
Okay.
Zoom now.
All right. There we go. All right.
Here's Mr. Ortiz, Your Honor.
All right. All right. All right. What position was it? I'm sorry. 97. Ms. Tolles, do you solemnly swear and affirm that the translation you provide will be a true and accurate translation with no changes or embellishments?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you. This is State versus Bernardo Ortiz Cortez, case number 22 CR 006250G.
Esta es la causa del Estado contra Bernardo Ortiz Cortés, número de caso 22CR 006250G.
Mr. Ortiz Cortez is accused of driving. Ms. Brown, I'm going to waive sounding on that charge, okay?
Yes,
It's
Your Honor.
It's a misdemeanor vehicular accident matter in the second degree.
No voy a anunciar los cargos, pero es un asunto de homicidio vehicular en el segundo grado.
Right? And that is 2 counts of that particular charge.
Y tiene 2 infracciones de eso.
The third charge is speeding, and the fourth charge is following too closely.
La tercera acusación es manejar en exceso de velocidad y la cuarta es manejar muy de cerca a otro auto.
You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of the case, your statements can and will be used against you.
Señor, usted tiene derecho a permanecer callado. Cualquier cosa que usted diga referente al caso, los hechos y circunstancias del caso se puede tomar en su contra.
You have a right to an attorney, and you're represented by counsel, Ms. Ashley Brown.
Tiene derecho a un abogado. Está representado por la licenciada Ashley Brown.
Mr. Ortiz, do you see your attorney, Ms. Ashley Brown, on the screen? Ms. Brown, if you could wave your hand in front of the screen.
Señor Ortiz, ¿está viendo a su abogada, la licenciada Ashley Brown, aquí en la pantalla?
Sí.
Yes.
All right. Ms. Brown, how would you like to proceed today at this plea in a Raymond calendar?
Licenciada Brown, ¿cómo quisiera usted proceder en esta instrucción de cargos?
Well, as previously stated, we were just brought on, Your Honor. We haven't had the time to review the plea offer with Mr. Cortez or Mr. Ortiz. So we would just like more time to be able to do that with him.
Como digo, acabamos de asignarnos al caso, entonces no hemos tenido suficiente tiempo para repasar la oferta de condena con el señor acusado. Entonces solamente estamos pidiendo más tiempo para hablar eso con él.
Right. Ms. Brown, are you going to be the primary counsel for Mr. Ortiz?
No, Your Honor, I will not.
Licenciado Brown, ¿usted va a ser la abogada principal por el señor Ortiz? No, no seré yo.
And who will be representing him?
Entonces,
It will
¿quién
be
lo va a representar?
Attorney Jerome Lee.
¿Quién lo va a representar? Será el licenciado Jerome Lee.
Does Mr. Lee speak Spanish?
El
He does
licenciado
not, Your
Lee
Honor.
¿Habla español? No.
Mr. Ortiz presently has a $17,000 bond, and he's been in custody for 15 days.
Actualmente, el señor Ortiz tiene una fianza de 17,000 y lleva 15 días detenido.
I can reset the case. Considering the nature of the charges, and I'm sure that needs to be some discovery and so forth. Ms. Brown, if you and Mr. Lee want to confer, I can reset the case as far out as October 20th, during which time that should give Mr. Lee ample time to confer with his client, with an interpreter. Hopefully he will bring with him, and also decide whether they want, if he and his client want to waive arraignment and or consider a plea offer on the 20th.
Bueno, licenciada, puedo aplazar este asunto tomando en consideración la naturaleza de las acusaciones y eso les dará suficiente tiempo para hablar el caso. Con eso, usted, señora licenciada Brown, puede tener tiempo para hablar con el licenciado Lee. Lo puedo aplazar hasta la fecha 20 de octubre. Tendrá tiempo, mientras tanto, de consultar con su cliente, participar en la revelación de pruebas y con un intérprete. Entonces, para entonces, el licenciado Lee puede decidir si quiere renunciar a la instrucción formal de cargos y si quiere considerar la oferta de condena.
Is that acceptable?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
¿Sería aceptable? Sí, su señoría.
All right. Case reset to October 20th, SAP calendar, at which time counsel will determine whether he or she wants to waive arraignment or consider any plea offer or any other matters to be addressed.
Bueno, entonces el caso queda aplazado hasta el 20 de octubre para la lista de causas el 20 de octubre. Durante el tiempo, mientras tanto, los licenciados pueden determinar si quieren renunciar a la lectura formal de las acusaciones o prefiere considerar una oferta de condena.
Thank you. That concludes this case.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rome. Ms. Brown, you have a good day.
Thank you. You as well.
El caso está concluido por hoy. Gracias.
All right, Ms. Tolles, thank you again for coming through like a trooper.
You're welcome. Was there anyone else on your calendar that needed me this morning, Your Honor?
I don't believe so, but I can confirm. Mr. Finley, Ms. Helen?
Judge, that was the only case. Thank you, Madam Interpreter.
All right, have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you. Position 25, we have Mr. Mosley in courtroom 2. All right, Mr. Mosley, we additionally addressed this case 22 CR 006222J, in which you were accused of battery, domestic violence from July 14, 2022. Your attorney had initially indicated that she was going to waive arraignment, but it appears that there's been a change of heart and that you would like to consider the plea offer from the state. Just to remind you, Mr. Moses, I've already advised you of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Helen. Ms. Helen, is this going to be a negotiated plea?
It is, Judge.
All right. And you've completed all the paperwork on his behalf?
I have, Judge.
All right. Presuming also you've gone over all his waiver of rights and all the consequences of taking this plea. Okay. All right. So, Mr. Moses, please raise your right hand. For this case, do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Bacchus, what is the plea recommendation for Mr. Moses?
Yes, Your Honor. It is 12 months, 30 days to serve, credit for time served, 15 days, balance probated, an FBIP, and no further violent contact with Tiara Freeman. Tiara is spelled T-E-A-R-R-A.
And that was Friedman, F-R-I-E-D, or Freeman?
Freeman, with no.
F-R-E-E-M-A-N?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think the stay away address is the same, the 1371 Kimberly Way.
Is there a stay away if so no further violent contact?
There's not a there's not a stay away.
Understood, Judge.
All right, Miss Helen, does your client stipulate to these factual basis, venue and ID, and does he accept the terms as outlined by Miss Bacchus?
He does accept the terms, and we do stipulate, Judge, it is that probated sentence. So we're asking for those probation fees to be waived to the end of January 2023, please, for Mr. Moses to be able to report
So it's a 6-month-long program, but you only want a waiver till January. Is that correct?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. All right, Mr. Moses,
Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I do want to, and I think I said this on the record before. I did put, I said no further violent contact, but it should be no further contact because there's a TPO in place.
oh, okay. So
Understood,
there
Judge.
is a stay away then. So what's the stay away?
I believe it is, I have something different. I see, can you verify with your client, Ms. Helen, that this is, it looks like the other one was the Kimberly Way. This one looks like 3871 Red Wine Road, Southwest.
Actually, I'd like to make this, is Tiara Freeman the petitioner of the TPO case?
Correct, Judge.
Yes.
May I have the TPO case number, 2021, 22?
2022 CV 370182.
All right. I'm going to require him to comply with the terms of the TPO. And if Ms. Freeman ever obtains any subsequent extensions and so forth, that's going to be the requirement of the sentence. Because violating the TPO can subject him to a felony charge of aggravated stalking. So it's very, very important that Mr. Moses complies with the temporary protective order. Do you understand, Mr. Moses?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, Ms. Helen, shall I proceed with the plea hearing?
Yes, Judge.
Mr. Moses, have you consumed any medication or alcohol?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, if you just speak up, you don't have to keep coming forward. I just want you to be comfortable.
Okay.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you planning to enter this plea freely, knowingly, and voluntarily as to the terms of the sentence?
Wait until she finish. Then answer. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Moses, I'm sure you've gone over this with your attorney, but I just need to make sure you understand that if you decide to enter guilty to this charge, this will be a battery domestic violence conviction on your record. Any subsequent arrest for the same offense will automatically be a felony charge.
Yes, ma'am.
So are you still willing to go forward with this plea?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to enter a plea, you would have to give up your constitutional right to go back to court and have a trial in front of a judge or a jury. You will not have the assistance of counsel. You will not be able to challenge the state's evidence, present your own defenses, examine witnesses, confront your accuser, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
Is anyone forcing you or inducing you to take the plea today?
No, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of battery domestic violence from July 14, 2022?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. If you have no other cases holding you at the Fulton County Jail, you should be released within 24 hours. Immediately upon being released, you are to have no further contact with Tiara Freeman, and you are to stay away from wherever she happens to be located. There is an active protective order against you under case number 2022 CV 370182. You must comply with the no further contact and stay away provisions of that order at all times. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
You will report to the probation office next Thursday at 132 Mitchell Street. Failure to report will result in a probation warrant being issued against you. You will report to probation, open a probation case, and update your current contact information. Within 60 days of being released, you must enroll in a domestic violence intervention program. That's a 6-month program of weekly classes. You will pay for those classes out of your own pocket. You will not need to pay probation fees from now until the end of January 2023. After January 2023, you will continue to report to probation and start paying probation fees from February 1st until the end of your sentence. No illegal drugs, no weapons, no firearms, no contact with Tiara Freeman. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, ma'am.
That concludes your case. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Medical, who do we have, please?
Position 3.
Position 3?
Yes.
Repeat that number, I'm sorry.
Number 3.
Number 3, okay. This is Damian Bradbury. Did we include PPO case in the disposition fee?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. This is Damian Bradbury, case number 22 CR 0062268. Mr. Bradbury is accused of criminal trespass causing damage to property from August 5th, 2022. Mr. Bradbury, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and your counsel is a conflict, either Ms. McLeod or Mr. Bradbury. Do you know the name of your attorney?
No, Judge.
All right. Mr. Jordan, do we have any conflict counsel on Zoom?
We don't have anyone today, Judge. We'll probably have to reset him to Tuesday. I didn't realize that he needed a conflict attorney.
All right.
I just looked.
I
at
have a Mr. Brown listed. Is that,
That's a,
isn't that PD?
yeah, because I showed that, Miss.
I think he's the prosecutor on that. They have him listed as a prosecutor, Judge.
Oh,
So
okay.
he was there was a waiver filed on his case on the SCA calendar. So no one was ever appointed to his case. So we'll have to appoint someone to his case.
Ms. Wanda Gann filed a waiver of the defendant's presence, not arraignment. Okay, so, Mr. Bradbury, we are going to get an attorney for you. One needs to be appointed. Mr. Jordan, if you can start the process, we need one by next Tuesday, which will be October 4th. And he's presently got a bond that was issued on September 16, 2022. And his next court date is going to be October 4th, 2022, which is next Tuesday. Understood, Mr. Bradbury?
Yes, Judge. Thank you. See you later. Have a good day, Judge.
Yes, sir. Have a good one. Thank you. Courtroom 2, who do we have, please?
Your Honor, did we get any information on position number 12, Gregory Harris?
Mr. Harris's attorney, Jewel McReynolds, or anyone from that office? Let's see, Mr. Jordan, have we had any progress to contact that office?
No luck, Judge. I haven't gotten an email back or a phone call back on that case.
All right, no attorney. We can either leave Mr. Harris on the calendar today, or we can address him next Tuesday, if it's not too full up.
Okay.
All right.
So
All right, Mr. Harris, if you have your attorney's contact information, you should try to reach them from the jail to let them know that you have a court date. We will also reach out to Jewel McReynolds' office and let them know that you have a court date next Tuesday at 9 a.m.
All right, so we have position number 34, Mr. Carlise Taylor in front of you.
Thank you. We had a probation violation case as well, a revocation, excuse me, Jordan Brown. So anytime we can get that case as well, that'd be good. Position 34 is a negotiated plea. This is Carlise Taylor. Are you Mr. Taylor?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your case number is 22 CR 006245E, accused of criminal trespass from September 15th, 2022. Mr. Taylor, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Catrice Helen. May I place you under oath for purposes of the plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you solemnly swear the information you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Backus, what's the plea offer?
Yes, Your Honor, give me 1 second. It is a time served, balance suspended, stay away. I can give you the stay away location, which is Lenox Mall, 3393. I'm just, my Odyssey is running a little slow and I'm trying to pull up the exact days.
All right.
It looks like it's 15, so 12 months, 30 days to serve, credit for time served, 15 days, balance suspended, and stay away.
All right, thank you. Ms. Helen?
Yes, Judge, that's our understanding of the plea. We do stipulate and we do accept it. What was that address again?
3393 Peachtree Street in Atlanta, Georgia.
Thank you,
We
Judge.
celebrate the pink pig every year. Okay. All right. So, Mr. Taylor, have you sorry, Ms. Helen, you did say you stipulate, right?
I did, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, if we can unmute courtroom 2. Have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently? We unmute courtroom 2. Deputy Norris, Deputy Vogel. If we can unmute courtroom 2, please. Thank you. All right, Mr. Taylor, as I was asking you, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, Your Honor.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you entering this plea freely, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you decide to take this plea offer, you would have to give up your right to go back to court and have a trial. There will be no trial. You will not be able to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, challenge the state's evidence, have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. And are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
How do you plead to 1 count of criminal trespass?
I'm guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. If you have no other cases holding you at the jail, your jail time for this case is concluded and you will be released within 24 hours. Once released, you have to stay 200 yards away from the entire complex known as the Lenox Mall at 3393 Peachtree Street. If you return to that location, you will be arrested for trespass, and we go through this all over again. Okay? Thank you.
All right.
Next, we have position 16 and 17, Mr. Mario Jackson.
Mr. Finley, what's the announcement for Mr. Jackson?
And Judge, if these could both just be arraigned.
Okay. This is position 16 and 17, defendant Mario Jackson. Cases are 22 CR 006229F, accused of battery causing substantial physical harm from March 22nd, 2022. The second case is 22 CR 006230F, accused of battery, domestic violence, and theft by taking from September 14th, 2022. Mr. Jackson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Mr. Zach Finley. And as I understand, you're going to enter a not guilty plea to both cases and have the cases further notice for trial. Please, and Mr. Finley, do we waive a reading of the accusations?
I do, Judge.
Mr. Jackson, upon your entry of a not guilty plea, the case will be scheduled for trial, at which time the state would have the complete burden to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt and overcome your legal presumption of innocence. If the state prevails, you could be convicted and sentenced to up to a year in prison and or up to $1,000 fine for each convicted offense. The sentences could be served together or served separately. Given this information, how do you plead?
Your asking?
Your Honor, I would like to plead guilty, Your Honor. I'll plead guilty.
Mr. Finley, your client appears to want to change his mind.
Judge, me and Mr. Jackson have gone back and forth, and I've been pretty clear that I think that is definitely not in his best interest.
Okay,
He
so
said
let
if he
me
could,
ask
we could go pro se if that's what he wants to do, but
Mr. Mario Jackson, you've had conversations with attorney Zach Finley, and I was brought to understand that you are pleading not guilty. Do you want to change your mind?
Man, whatever best ma'am suits me, ma'am, whatever suits.
Okay, Mr. Finley, if you want to state your recommendation to him?
yes, Mr. Jackson, just like we spoke about at length yesterday and then again this morning, I think it's definitely in your best interest that we plead not guilty and let this go to the trial division, sir.
All right, so Mr. Jackson, with regards to the two cases I've identified and the three charges, how are you pleading right now?
Not guilty, ma'am.
Your cases have been arraigned and further notice for trial. That was the only thing, right? Mr. Finley?
Yes, Judge. Yeah, I just wanted to arraign both those.
Okay, thank you. That concludes these cases.
Yeah. Next, we have position number 37, Mr. Preston White.
Mr. Preston White is accused of theft by taking in accusation number 22 CR 006-231J. Mr. White, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Catrice Helen. Is this going to be a negotiated or non-negotiated plea, Ms. Helen?
It's non-negotiated, Judge. The jail time is at issue, as well as if he can enter a no-low plea, Judge.
Okay, so Mr. White, I'm not going to place you under oath at the present time. I'm first going to hear from the prosecution, and then I will hear from your attorney, after which I'll give you my decision as to which option I will select. Please keep in mind that I also have a right to disregard either option and schedule this case for trial. So Ms. Bacchus, what's the state's position?
Yes, Your Honor. So we offered 12 months, 60 days to serve credit for time served 16 days, balance probated a theft class, and a stay away from the incident location of the Stoneleigh Apartments at 1800 Deerfield Point in Milton, Georgia. This incident occurred on September 9th. On this date, a male and female were seen going into the mailroom at the Stoneleigh Apartments. The male had a key to box 1627. He opened the box and he took mail from the box. He then began looking through the boxes that were for packages. Nothing was taken from there. Then he tried to use his key to unlock other numerous boxes. He did end up getting into one other box. He removed a piece of mail, then he put it back, but then he's seen going into another box, which was 1432. He removed mail out of there. He put the mail back, but then he goes into an area where the cameras can't quite see. And so it's hidden from the camera view, and he's seen walking away from this area with a handful of mail. And then the female who was with him, she's seen also picking up mail, which is in the package area, or that was laying on the table in the center of the mailroom. And so the leasing employee said that she had observed the name on two of the packages, and that they were for someone named Jasleen Walla, Walla, it looks like. the person was waiting for the packages. She had not received them yet. And so what was ascertained from the video was that the female was acting as a lookout for the defendant as he was going through the multiple boxes. There, again, Your Honor, he has 13 cycles in Georgia. His last conviction, it looks like, well, he had a probation violation revocation in 2015. He has an open case, a DUI and DUI per se in 2021, and then possession of methamphetamine in June of 2022. I believe that's in Gwinnett. And he also has 2 warrants out of Texas right now from August of 2020 and November of 2021, Your Honor. Based on the history, the state feels as though an additional 14 days in jail is not egregious and is more than appropriate in this case. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Heller?
Yes, Judge, this is a non-negotiated plea. We're asking for time served with the probation conditions. Mr. White is not saying he didn't do this, and he wants to accept guilt for it. So, Judge, we are asking if he could be allowed to use his NOLO for this. But again, he does accept the probation sentence and the theft class as well as the stay away, Judge. Mr. White, if we can unmute him. You don't stay at the Deerfield Apartments anymore, do you?
No, ma'am.
So he doesn't even live there anymore, Judge. So we understand the stay away, the theft class, the probation sentence. We would just ask for it to be time served and him be allowed to use his NOLO plea.
Okay, Your Honor. One thing further, he does have again, I understand that PD Helen is saying that he wants to accept guilt, but he does have other thefts in his past. And so based on that, he's not unfamiliar with the justice system. He's not unfamiliar with stealing. And so for that reason, again, we are asking that the additional jail time stay. Nothing.
Is pretrial on the line? Can we have pretrial read its complete history?
Oh, I don't need it. I recall this case. I was the one who set the bond. First of all, Miss Helen, do you have anything else to add?
I don't, Judge.
All right, thank you. Mr. White, this is not a solitary incident where you just remove one package and then the item is easily replaceable. Based on my reading of the documents in this case, this was removal of several articles of mail, and this has a ripple effect among the victims. We have victims who have lost bills, who may have lost income checks, who may have lost packages that are not replaceable. And because of this ripple effect and the nature of this particular offense, if you decide to enter a plea, I'm only accepting a guilty plea. This is a sentence of 12 months, 60 days, credit for time served, 16 days. Given your criminal record history, I'm actually going to require you to complete this day for day. There is no 2-for-1 ratio. So if this is 60 days and you've been in custody now for 16 days, that means you have 44 more days left to serve at the Fulton County Jail. And then after you've completed the 44 days, you will report to probation. You will report every month. You will complete the anti-theft class. And then after that, you can return to Texas to address the outstanding cases out there. Is this the plea offer that you'd like to accept, or we can wait for your case to go to trial?
So I gotta take a guilty plea?
You would have to enter a guilty plea if you want to proceed with the plea offer. And as I said, given the nature of the charges, given your criminal record history, I'm requiring you to spend day for day. There is no 2-for-1 ratio in your sentence. You have 44 more days to serve at the jail, after which you'll be placed on probation to report every month.
But I didn't take that many, I didn't take enough packages. It was just a little bit of.
In that case, then I guess the case we need to investigate this case further to examine just how many victims have been involved. This
I-
case is going,
I'll go ahead and take the guilty.
I'm sorry?
I'll go ahead and take the guilty.
All right, if you take a guilty plea, please explain to me how many more days do you have to serve at the Fulton County Jail?
44 more days.
And what happens after you're done?
Go to probation.
And you report every month. And you're not allowed to leave the state of Georgia unless you have written permission from the court while you're on probation.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms.
Hey,
Helen,
Judge-
is that
Judge-
something that you recommend your client do, or you
Yeah,
can reset it?
I'd like to talk to Mr. White. I don't think he's understanding what's going on or what happened. I just want an opportunity to speak to him on the phone at courtroom 2, and then we can bring his case right back up.
All right, before you, okay, Mr. White, please step aside. Medical, who do we have, please?
I have position 12 on the competency calendar.
All right, Ms. Helen, go ahead and take that call at the jail. And if we can place position 12 in a breakout room with me, Mr. Walker and Kiana Quisenberry, and is Mr. Derek Howard available?
You said position 12, Your Honor?
He said position 12 on the competency calendar.
And Judge, I'm actually on the phone with Attorney Howard. He's logging in right now, okay?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Helen.
Your Honor, you know I have 3 more positions, right?
Courtroom 2, we have 3 more positions.
Yes, we have position 22, 29, and 14.
Okay, those are all Ms. Helen's cases, and she will take those up after she speaks to Mr. White. Okay, just hold. I'm going to take up this medical case right now. Mr. Derek Howard, are you available?
He's still logging on, Judge. I just got off the phone with him.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Your Honor. This is his mom. Can I also come in to the
No.
meeting room?
No, I will be with you shortly.
Yes, ma'am.
And, well, position 14 is Mr. Howler's, Mr. Finley's case, Your Honor.
Oh, okay, if you have position 14 ready, Mr. Finley?
Yes, Judge.
All right, sorry. I know it's kind of a whiplash effect, but I'm trying to address all the cases. Position 14 is Philip Tomes, 21 CR 006. Excuse me.
No,
That's
it's
not,
Howard.
no,
John
wrong
Howard.
calendar. Sorry, I had a different one open.
Yeah, the criminal trespassing charge.
I know she got it. She's gonna get it.
2 month probation.
Mr. Walker, Mr. Howard, please hold. Position 14 on the SOP calendar is John Howell, accused of criminal trespass in 22 CR 006 227E from September 14th, 2022. Mr. Howell, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Zach Finling. This is going to be a negotiated plea. May I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear the information you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Just speak loud, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Tortorella, what's the plea recommendation for Mr. Howell?
Yes, Your Honor, it'll be 12 months, served 16 days, credit for time served 16 days, balance probated, to stay away from the incident location, which is the Publix at 2900 Peachtree Road, Northwest in Atlanta, and 40 hours of community service. Does opposing counsel stipulate to the facts, venue, and ID?
I do.
Nothing further.
All right, Mr. Finley, your client accepts these terms?
Yes, Judge, he does accept these terms to the time served, and he did state that he wanted to do the community service. I would just ask that once he does complete that, that his balance of his probation could be suspended.
Any objection, Ms. Tortorella?
Your Honor, we do object. He has another open case, 22 CR 000252C. So for that reason, Your Honor, and a felony burglary case, with bond. So for that reason, we're asking for him to continue reporting to probation. Nothing further.
I will place him on a non-reporting status once he's done with the 40 hours community service, and I'll waive probation fees till the end of the year. Does your client still want to proceed?
Mr. Howell, you still want to proceed with,
Oh, yeah, with the probation, with the 2 months probation and the community service for the trespassing charge.
No, Mr. Howell, let me repeat what I just said. I will waive probation fees till the end of the year. And once you complete the 40 hours of community service, your probation will be non-reporting. You are technically still on probation, but if your community service is done, you don't have to report for this case. Now, I don't know what will happen in your other cases. For this case, that's the situation. Do you still want to proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Finding, may I proceed then?
yes, Judge.
Mr. Howell, have you consumed any medication or alcohol?
No, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you understood everything that's been going on so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
If you decide to plead guilty to this charge, you would have to give up your right to a trial. You would not be able to go back to court, confront your accuser, examine witnesses, have the challenge the state's evidence, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to criminal trespass?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 16 days, credit for time served 16 days. If you have no other cases holding you at the jail, you will then be released within 24 hours and report to probation next Thursday. However, if you are being held on any other cases, then your probation will begin only once you are released. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
If you are released within 24 hours, your probation will be, fees will be waived until the end of the year, during which time you need to complete 40 hours of community service at any nonprofit agency. After you've done the work, your probation will be non-reporting. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And Judge, I think we can take 22 and 29. I just still need an opportunity just to wait on Mr. White's case and speak to him, but we can take 22 and 29.
All right, I'm sure the deputy is very appreciative of that.
Very appreciative, Helen.
All right, Kit Kat to Miss Allen. Okay. All right, position 22, Mr. Jeremiah Kernivan, case number 22 CR 0062908. Mr. Kernivan is accused of loitering and prowling from April 11, 2021. Sir, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Miss Helen. May I place you under oath, please? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sure.
Thank you. Miss Bacchus, what's the plea offer?
Didn't realize I was on mute. The state's offers 12 months, 30 days to serve, credit for time served, 1 day. I may need to check that, verify. 1 day, balance suspended, and stay away from the incident location, which is 8.
I'm sorry, did I freeze or I didn't catch it?
Miss Bacchus, her bandwidth is
What position is it, Your Honor?
22.
If ASG Walker allows me, I can give you the plea offer.
Go ahead, Mr. Tortorella.
It's 12 months, served 30 days, credit for time served.
He's been in custody for 48 days.
He has.
So balance suspend and stay away from the incident location.
Okay. So it'll be 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 30 days. Balance suspended and to stay away from where?
The incident location, I can look that up for you, Your Honor.
It's 8, Your Honor, I'm back. My apologies. It is 1815 Hembree Road, HEMBREE Road in Alpharetta.
All right, thank you. Ms. Helen, does your client accept these terms and do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue and ID?
I do stipulate, Your Honor, and he does.
All right. Mr. Carnarvon, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes,
And are you satisfied with your attorney?
yes,
Is anyone forcing you or inducing you to take a plea today?
no,
As explained by your attorney, if you decide to enter a guilty plea today, you would have to give up your constitutional right to a trial, to go back to court and confront your accuser, examine witnesses, challenge the state's evidence, present your own defenses, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of loitering and prowling?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served, 30 days, balance suspended. Once you are released from the Fulton County Jail, I understand that you may have other matters. You are to stay away from 1815 Pembry Road in Alpharetta. If you return to that location, you will be arrested again. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
And the next one was position 26.
29, I believe.
29, okay. Mr. Franklin Plummer is case number 20 CR 004860G. Mr. Plummer has been accused of battery, domestic violence from July 31st, 2020. Mr. Plummer, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Catrice Helen. This is going to be an arraignment. Do you waive a reading of the accusation, Ms. Helen?
I do, Judge.
All right. Mr. Plummer, you have been accused of one misdemeanor charge of battery, domestic violence. Upon your entry of a not guilty plea, the case will be scheduled for trial. At the time of the trial, the prosecutor would have the complete burden to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt and to overcome your legal presumption of innocence. If you are convicted of said offense, you could face a penalty of up to a year in prison and or up to $1,000 fine. Given this information, how do you plead?
Not guilty.
Thank you, sir. Your case has been arraigned and further notice for trial. Best of luck, sir. Thank you. That concludes this case. Medical, do we have an individual in medical on the competency calendar? Mr. Murphy, are you here? For the, I don't know where medical went. So while I'm waiting for medical to come back, I have Mr. Alvin Jones present. He is on our DV bench warrant calendar. Mr. Alvin Jones, will you please unmute? All right, please.
And that's
unmute.
my case, Judge.
All right, Mr. Alvin Jones, you would need to unmute your screen. Nope. You still are muted. It's a little, it looks like a little microphone.
Could Mr. Jordan unmute him from his end?
No, the host can mute, but the user has to unmute the screen.
And Mr. Jones, if you're using your iPhone, it's just a red microphone. You may have to exit out of the video just so you can see the audio options.
Okay, now you can hear me?
Yes, perfect. Thank you. All right. Mr. Alvin Jones is requested a set aside of the bench warrant that was issued against him on June 1st, 2022 in case number 20 CR 005834F. Mr. Jones was accused of 2 counts of simple battery domestic violence. A bond order was issued on November 25th, 2020, in which, just give me a minute. All right, the Fulton County State Bond Order was issued and it looks like he made bond through soon thereafter. The current address that we have on Mr. Jones used to be Arthur Langford Junior Place, but now it's Fletcher Street in Southwest Atlanta. There was a failure to appear and a bench warrant was issued. Mr. Jones, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and if you cannot afford one, one would be appointed. And we have Ms. Catrice Helen representing you. Yes, Ms. Helen?
Yes, Judge, we are asking for that set aside. I have from his case, there's 2 failing to appears, but when I spoke to Mr. Jones, he had not received those notices because he moved and relocated to a 484 Fletcher Street, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia, 30310 apartment B. I believe that that's updated on Odyssey. Because Mr. Jones, once he realized that there's a bench warrant, went down to state court to see what he could do. He also called to try to see, hey, what's going on? I need to be able to get the link to show up. So, Judge, I gave him the link. He's appeared. He's not trying to abscond or run from this, Judge. He changed his address and didn't update it with the court. I've already told Mr. Jones it is his responsibility, and he understands going forward it will be his responsibility to update the court if he moves again. He was even contacting his bond company to see if there had been any new court dates that he should appear. So, Judge, he's 52 years old. He's employed. If he had to turn himself in on this warrant, it would be very destructive to his employment and his lifestyle. But let's look at the bond order. He has had no contact with Miss Anita Langley, does not want any contact with this individual who is showing up to his residence, his new residence, and his house, Judge. So we are asking if there could be just a reissuance of the no contact for Miss Langley so she knows to stay away from him. But other than that, Judge, he's followed the bond orders and the rules, Judge. So we're asking for that bench warrant to be set aside.
All right. Who's going to? Ms. Backus, Ms. Tortorella?
That would be me, Your Honor, Ms. Backus. Your Honor, what PD Helen said is correct. There are 2 FDAs back from June of 2021 and May of this year. And I did see in the system that there were the 2 return to sender notices. However, it is the defendant's responsibility to update the court. That is a part of bond conditions, that they are to update the court with any change of address. Your Honor, based on the state is asking that the bench warrant not be set aside. We do understand missing 1. He's missed 2. And in addition to his history, he knows the cycle of the legal system. And so the state would ask that that bench warrant not be set aside.
How many cycles does he have?
He has 16. 16 from 1990 to 2022.
All right. Anything else, Ms. Helen?
Judge, if I could have his pretrial read his history.
Ms. Harrison, this is a case on the DB bench warrant reset calendar. It's position 2. Do you have his GCIC?
Yes, 16 cycle. Last arrest was May of 2019, theft by shoplifting in DeKalb. That was a misdemeanor conviction. Prior to that arrest, he has a 2015 driving while license suspended in Fulton County.
Right.
Yes, Judge, again, I'm going to go off of his history. This is not a violent, long-standing offender. We're asking for this bench warrant to be set aside so that he can proceed to the jury trial. And again, the bond conditions, he has had no contact, wants no contact with Miss Langley. So, Judge, we have an updated address, we have an updated phone number, and Mr. Jones is sitting right here. So we are asking for this bench warrant to be set aside.
No, he's not sitting right here. He's sitting in the comfort of his home. That's a whole different
Wait,
matter.
Mr. Jones, thank you.
A home that he doesn't bother to let us know where he is, not once, but twice. And he's not a novice to court procedures. Anything else, Ms. Helen?
No, Judge.
All right. Mr. Jones, I'm not going to set aside the bench warrant. You are going, Mr. Jones, if you want to pay attention, You're going
Yes,
to
ma'am.
report to the Fulton County Jail, and you're going to be processed at the intake division to close out the warrant. On the 2 counts of simple battery, bond is going to be set at $1,500 each. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services.
Yes, ma'am.
You will report to pretrial once a month. Anytime you change your address, you need to let the court and pretrial services know that your address has changed. You will continue to comply with the no contact provision with the alleged victim, no illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. If you fail to report to pretrial, or if you fail to appear in court next time due to a change of address or there's something wrong with your mail, well, don't even wait for the bench warrant. Just stroll on down to the jail.
Can I ask a question, Your Honor?
Repeat?
Can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
When do I have to turn myself in? Cause I'm gonna lose my job and all of this. When do I have to turn myself in?
When do you have to be at work?
I have to be to work tomorrow at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Are you available on Saturday?
Ma'am,
Are you available on Saturday?
I'm off on Saturdays and Sundays.
Good. You're gonna turn yourself in on Friday night after work,
Yes, ma'am.
all right? And that means
Yes,
you
ma'am.
have to surrender before midnight this Friday.
I'll be there. I promise you, I'll be there. Can I ask one more question?
Quickly.
Can you fix it, please, to where Ms. Langley stop coming around my house and making me, this is about the second time I've been arrested.
Mr. Jones, I'm going to answer your question very quickly. Does the
Thank you.
victim have a criminal case against her?
I don't know, Your Honor. I never
There
took it
isn't a
out
criminal
of
case
warrant.
against her, so I cannot order her to stay away from you. But you can go to the appropriate superior court and get a restraining order if you choose to do so.
Okay.
All right? You have to report to the Fulton County Jail before midnight on September 30th, 2022. As I
Yes,
said,
ma'am.
they will process the warrant and release you on the signature bond, and you'll report to pretrial services in accordance with their schedule. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Helen, please submit the proposed order
Understood, Judge.
to Ms. April Champion. Thank you.
And I just want to make sure I have the bond as a $3,000 signature, $1,500 each charge.
Yes, pretrial
understood.
services.
So what? When I get down, I just do a signature bond and they will release me?
That's correct, as soon as they process you through intake.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All right,
Judge.
I have the add-on one.
All right, Mr. Jones, you're free to go. South Annex, I will be addressing your cases shortly. Please remember that when I address your case on a one-on-one basis, each of you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say during the course of these proceedings, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you, or one should already have been appointed to, and should have spoken to you. Mr. Jones, if you have nothing nice to say, oh, who is that?
That's his new partner.
Okay, not the alleged victim, right?
I hope not, Judge.
Mr. Jones, who is the female in the Zoom camera with you? Who's the woman in the camera room, in the room with you?
That's my girlfriend who bonded me out when I was arrested. That's Christy Powell.
Good to know. All right, sir. You can leave the Zoom now, or Mr. Jones, we can remove him from the Zoom.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm trying to.
5 South, who do we have, please?
I got the add-on number 1, and I also have the competency position number 12.
And South Annex, the ladies may have a seat. Add-on number 1.
And Judge, I believe add-on number 1 was null prost, and that they've already submitted an order for that, Judge.
Okay, let me let him know. All right. Mr. Courtney Garrett?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so my name is Judge Long. Your case is 20 CR 0031449Y. The Solicitor General's Office of Fulton County, which is the prosecutor, has decided to issue a null pros, a notice of intent to not prosecute. So this case is closed and there will not be a prosecution in this case. So if this is the only case holding you at the jail, you should be released within 24 hours. But if you have other matters, then those matters will be holding you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, I have the competency position 12.
Thank you. Mr. Jordan, if you could place 5 South, Mr. Walker, me, Mr. Howard, and Mr. Murphy into a breakout room, please. Who is here? Kiana, are you here for competency? Or just put your hand up if you want to have Mr. Jordan place you. In the breakout.
Your Honor, I can't use the hand signal.
All right, we are still addressing position number 12, Mr. Malcolm Pamphile. And Mr. Malcolm Pamphile's case is going to be reset to October 27. Mr. Derek Howard will reach out to Mr. Pamphile and give him a status of his case and a status of his bond. Who is the family member for Miss Oshikoya? Okay, if you want to
Yes.
unmute, I need to see your video.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right.
And also Stan Pamphil's father.
Okay. So currently his bond is going to remain the same. He will be speaking to Mr. Derek Howard, who's the attorney, will be speaking with him as to what progress they're going to make with regards to the next stage in the services that he's receiving. Now, I'm speaking very vaguely because I'm not going to make any reference to any medically sensitive information due to HIPAA requirements. So, Ms. Oshikoya, do you have any questions that don't pertain to any kind of medically sensitive information? Or otherwise, you can reach out to Mr. Derek Howard. He's advised
Yes, Your Honor.
He's advised me that what he told me is exactly what he's discussed with you.
Okay.
All right?
Yes,
Now,
yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Stan, did you have anything else to ask?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
All right. Okay, you are both free to go then. 3 South.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Next court date is October 27. Thank you.
And Judge, I
Okay.
think they still have Mr. White. We wanted to knock that out. I think that's the last guy in courtroom 2.
All right. And that was Mr. What position number was that again?
That's position 37, Your Honor.
Correct.
Thank you. All right. All right, Ms. Helen, this was Mr. Preston White. Are we still proceeding with the plea or are we moving on with the arraignment?
Judge, we're accepting the negotiated plea of the 60 days, credit for time served, balance probated, the theft class, and the stay away from 1800 Deerfield.
All right. We are going to resume with position 22 CR 006231J. Mr. Preston White has been advised of his right to remain silent and his right to counsel. And this was going to be a non-negotiated plea, but as I understand, after a conference with his attorney in the middle of the plea hearing, this is not going to be a negotiated plea with 12 months to 60 days, credit for time served 16 days. And both attorneys understand that Mr. White will be serving day for day, correct?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Mr. White, do you still want to proceed with this plea offer?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Helen, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
I do,
for the
Judge.
theft- For the theft by taking charge on September 9, 2022 at the mailroom in question?
Yes, Judge.
Mr. White, have you, Mr. White, I need to place you under oath. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I have a Zoom user. Sir, are you here for a particular case? You're wearing a green shirt and a black cap. All right, can you switch off your video until we address your case? Thank you. All right. Mr. White, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Is anyone forcing you or inducing you to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
And has it been explained to you that by pleading guilty to this charge, this could have an impact upon any other open cases against you, as
Yes.
well as your personal situation or residency, if applicable?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to plead guilty to this charge, you would have to give up your right to a trial in front of a judge or a jury. An attorney won't be available to assist you to challenge the state's evidence, present your defenses, confront your accuser, examine witnesses, and have the prosecutor try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights? Mr. White, are you prepared to give up the rights I've just listed?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you entering this plea freely, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to the one count of theft by taking?
I plead guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months, credit to serve 60 days, that's 60. Credit for time served, 16 days. The remainder of the time will be placed on probation once you are released from the Fulton County Jail, provided that you don't have any other holds. You will be serving out the remainder of the 44 days left on your sentence in jail, day for day. There is no 2-for-1 ratio. Once you are released and placed on probation, you will complete an anti-theft class. You're not permitted to leave the state of Georgia until this sentence is completed. You will report to probation every month. You're also to stay away from the entire apartment complex at 1800 Deerfield Parkway in Milton, Georgia. I believe that's the Stoneley Apartments. Any questions, Mr. White?
No, ma'am.
That concludes your plea. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we completed here in courtroom 2 now. They would be excused.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much, sir. You have a good one. I'll
Thank you.
y'all soon. Take care.
At 2 o'clock?
That will be Judge Williams.
Okay.
All right, take care. Thank you. Okay, South Annex, who do we have, please?
For you, Your Honor, is position number 2, Ms. Anderson.
All right, thank you. This is Tiffany Anderson, case number 21 CR 007-602J. Ms. Anderson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Zach Finley, or is it Dennis Murphy?
It's my case, Your Honor.
Oh, okay, thank you. Mr. Finling is your attorney, and this is going to be a negotiated plea. Ms. Anderson, may I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Ms. Anderson was accused of DUI under the influence of alcohol less safe and failure to maintain insurance from January 4th, 2020. Ms. Tortorello, I'm sorry. Yes, Ms. Anderson, what question do you have? Oh, you can put your hand down. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Ms. Tortorello, what's the plea offer for the state?
Yes, Your Honor. For the DUI charge is 12 months served 10 days, credit for time served 10 days, balance probated, a $300 fine, 40 hours of community service, risk reduction, ADET, and 1 victim impact panel. For count 2, no insurance, 12 months served 10 days, credit for time served 10 days, balance probated, a $200 fine suspended, and that will run concurrent to count 1. Does opposing counsel stipulate to the facts, venue, and ID of the matter?
I do.
Nothing further.
All right. So that's a $700 fine for the DUI, and the $200 fine for the failure to maintain insurance is suspended. Is that correct?
We renegotiated, Your Honor, so it will be a $300 fine for the DUI.
Oh, I'm sorry.
$200 fine suspended for count 2.
Okay, and 40 hours community service?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Finling, are these the terms to which your clients agreed, and do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
I do so stipulate, Your Honor, and these are the conditions that we did agree to, Judge. Ms. Anderson did agree to these. I would just ask that the probation fees could be waived for a period of time. She did agree to pay the $300 fine, but that would benefit her if the probation
I
fees.
will waive probation fees up to and including the end of February 2023. But after that, she needs to continue reporting to probation and start paying probation fees. This is a DUI charge. I do not amend it to non-reporting. Ms. Anderson, do you still want to proceed with the plea?
Yes, I do, ma'am.
All right. Ms. Anderson, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
Have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, I have.
And are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, I am, ma'am.
If you decide to take this plea offer, you would have to give up your rights to have a trial in front of a judge or a jury. You will not have the assistance of counsel to go back to court, challenge the state's evidence, present your own defenses, confront your accuser and examine witnesses, as well as have the state prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to waive your rights?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Are you entering a plea willingly, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
How do you plead to 1 count of DUI under the influence of alcohol less safe and failure to maintain insurance?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Your sentence will be concurrent on the failure to maintain insurance. It will be 12 months to serve 10 days, credit for time served 10 days. Balance probated to pay a $200 fine, which is suspended. So this sentence will be concurrent. That means you will serve it together with your DUI sentence. Your DUI sentence is 12 months served 10 days, credit for time served 10 days, balance probated. You will report to probation next Thursday at 132 Mitchell Street. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
While you're on probation, you will pay a $300 fine. You will complete 40 hours of voluntary community service at any nonprofit agency, which is not a school and not a religious organization.
Okay.
You will complete a 1 risk reduction program, 1 alcohol and drug evaluation, and submit yourself to any treatment if required. You will also complete one victim impact panel. I will waive your probation fees from now until the end of February 2023, but you will continue reporting to probation every month and start paying probation fees from March 1st, 2023 onwards. Thank you.
Your Honor, may I say something?
If you have a question about your sentence, that would be fine.
I do, thank you for giving me the privilege to, get out of this situation. But my kids, something has happened and I appreciate you releasing me, but I really need to get home. I have a case, but the father just got locked up and I have to get home before they take my kids. It's very.
You have what? No?
I have to be released immediately. My kids they in a defect situation. The daddy just got arrested and I don't have anyone to keep them right now.
Okay. You'll be released within 24 hours. I hope that you go immediately to DFACS.
I don't think I have time for that.
Yeah, you will have time, but you just need to report to probation next Thursday to open your probation case. And then after that, you report every month, once a month. So you will have time to address that situation as well.
They might take my children today, Your Honor. That's what I'm saying.
You can bring your children to probation. Just make sure that they don't run around.
And Ms. Anderson, I will submit your paperwork as soon as court is finished. So that'll get the ball rolling and get you processed out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Y'all have a great day.
You too. Best of luck.
Ms. Burks.
What position is that?
Position 4. This is State versus Luby Guayeta Burks, accused of theft by deception from August 6, 2019, 22 CR 004174D. Ms. Burks, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Zach Finley. This is going to be a negotiated plea. May I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You may place your hand down. Ms. Tortorella, what is understand that her charge has been reduced to disorderly conduct, and that, so can you tell me the plea offer for the disorderly conduct charge?
Yes, Your Honor, it will be 12 months served, 10 days, credit for time served, 10 days, balance probated, to stay away from the incident location, which is the Walmart at 844 Cleveland Avenue in East Point, and 40 hours of community service. Does opposing counsel stipulate to the facts, venue, and ID?
I do.
Nothing further.
Right, Mr. Burke, and you accept the terms? Your client accepts these terms?
Yes, Judge. Ms. Burks does accept these terms. These are the terms we agreed to. I would just ask that the probation fees could waive for a period of time. Also, that once Ms. Burks does complete that community service, if the balance of her probation could be terminated, but if not inclined, Judge, then non-reporting.
I don't have a problem with termination considering the age of the incident. Ms. Tortorella?
No objection.
All right. Ms. Burks, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
And is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
If you decide to enter a plea to this charge of disorderly conduct, you would have to give up your right to have a trial, to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, challenge the state's evidence, and have the state try to prove the original charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
How do you plead to one count of disorderly conduct?
I plead guilty, ma'am.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 10 days, credit for time served 10 days. You'll be released within 24 hours, and you need to report to probation by next Thursday, well, actually next Thursday at 132 Mitchell Street in downtown Atlanta. I will waive your probation fees from now until the end of this year, during which time you will need to complete 40 hours of voluntary community service. You can do that at any nonprofit agency, which is not a school and not a religious organization. Once you complete the 40 hours community service, your probation will terminate. At all times, stay away from Walmart at 844 Cleveland Avenue in East Point, Georgia. Do you have any questions about your sentence?
No, ma'am, I think I understand.
All right, that concludes your case. Thank you.
Position 18, Ms. Jackson. Position 18, 1-8, Ms.
Got it? Thank you. All right, position 18 is Ms. Shatina Jackson, case number 22 CR 0012298. Ms. Jackson has been accused of driving while license suspended, giving false information to a law enforcement officer, and operating without the proper lights as required by law. This is from March 5th, 2022. Ms. Jackson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Zach Findling. Mr. Findling, this is going to be an arraignment. Is there anything else to address after that?
That's correct, Judge. This will just be an arraignment. I did convey the offer to Ms. Jackson, but she stated that she wanted to plead not guilty.
Okay. Ms. Jackson, and do you waive a reading of the accusation, Mr. Findling?
I do, Judge.
All right. Ms. Jackson, upon your entry of a not guilty plea to the 3 charges listed above, the ones I've just indicated, your case will be scheduled for trial. At the time of the trial, the prosecution will have the complete burden to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. If the state prevails, you could be convicted of one or more of these charges and possibly face a penalty of up to a year in prison and or up to $1,000 fine for each convicted offense. Given this information, how do you plead?
I could plead guilty.
I believe you told your attorney you wanted to plead not guilty, so the paperwork to plead guilty has not been completed. Have you had a change of mind?
I mean, I did, but I mean, I did. I'm sorry I'm indecisive about it or whatever, because I didn't really understand it, but I could.
So I'm going to need to talk to her further, Judge, because I did not go over, obviously, the plea questions and so on.
All right. Deputy Milton, we have to put Ms. Jackson aside for now. Maybe address the other cases.
Yes, Your Honor. You come back to you. Just stand over there. Next, we have position 19, Ms. Jenkins.
Okay. This is Isis Talaya Jenkins, accused of criminal trespass and battery from August 7th, 2019, accusation number 21 CR 003-643Y. Ms. Jenkins, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Zach Findling. This is going to be a negotiated plea. Ms. Jenkins, may I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge? Repeat. All right, thank you. Ms. Tortorella, what's the plea offer for these 2 charges?
Yes, Your Honor, for battery, the battery charge is 12 months served, 23 days. Credit for time served, 23 days, balance probated, 12 weeks of anger management, and no contact with the victim. Her name is Amia Hester Bay. The first name is spelled A, M as in Mary, I-A-H. The last name is H-E-S as in Sam, T-E, R as in Robert, hyphen, B as in boy, E-Y. For the criminal trespass, it's 12 months served, 23 days, credit for time served, 23 days, balance probated, 40 hours of community service, to stay away from the incident location, which is the Duracell Distribution Center at 5000 Bohannon Road in Fairburn. And the criminal trespass will run concurrent to the battery. Does opposing counsel stipulate to the facts, venue, and ID?
I do.
Nothing further.
Mr. Findling, does your client accept these terms?
Yes, Judge. Ms. Jenkins does accept these terms. We just ask that these could be waived for a period of time, and that once she does complete the anger management in the community service, that she could be non-reported.
I will waive probation fees up to and including March of 2023. And then if she completes all the conditions, her probation will be non-reporting. So if she's done with everything by the end of March, then her probation will be non-reporting and she won't be on the hook for probation fees. All right. Ms. Jenkins, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you're gonna have to speak up loudly. I know it's the mask, you need to leave the mask on because there's an officer very close to you, but you need to speak loudly. Again, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, I haven't.
Perfect. And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, I have.
Louder?
Yes, I have.
All right. Just speak louder through your mask.
I'm
That's
sorry, I'm just naturally soft-spoken, so.
understood, but this is your moment to yell and scream at me. I won't mind. Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, I am.
All right. And Mr. Jenkins, if you decide to plead guilty to these two charges, that you would have to give up your constitutional right to a trial. You will not be able to go back to court to have a trial in front of a judge or a jury, to have the assistance of counsel so that you can challenge the state's evidence, present your own defenses, confront your accuser, examine witnesses, and have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, I am.
How do you plead to one count of battery and one count of criminal trespass?
Guilty.
Repeat.
Guilty.
Your sentence for the battery is 12 months to serve 23 days, credit for time served 23 days. You will be, if you have no other cases holding you, you'll be released within 24 hours and placed on probation. I will waive your probation fees up to and including March of 2023. You will have to report to probation next Thursday at 132 Mitchell Street in downtown Atlanta. While you're on probation, you need to complete 12 weeks of anger management classes at any approved nonprofit agency that is not a school and not a religious organization. Understood?
Yes.
You're also to have no contact with Amia Hester Bay. You have to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. For the criminal trespass, your sentence is concurrent. Same time frame for 12 months to serve 23 days, credit for time served 23 days. And during that time, you will, I'm sorry. One was a 12-week anger management program, and this one's a 40 hours community service at any nonprofit agency. I got the two confused. So anyways, you've got the instructions about the community service, and you have to stay away from the incident location. I didn't get the location written down. Did you have the location?
Yes, Your Honor, it's the Duracell Distribution Center. Let me get the address. I believe it's 5000 Bohannon Road in Fairburn.
Are you familiar with that location?
Yes.
All right, stay away. So just to clarify, you'll be on probation to complete 12 weeks of anger management classes at an approved school and 40 hours of community service at an approved nonprofit agency. Once you complete these conditions, your probation will be non-reporting.
Okay, so will I get like a list of where I can do the anger management?
Probation can recommend, or you can recommend a location. You can look it up yourself. And if it's approved by a probation officer, then you can go for it.
Okay, perfect.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have position number 2020, Ms. Johnson.
This is Akea Shante Johnson, case number 22 CR 0060888. Ms. Johnson's accused of loitering and prowling on September 9th, 2022. Ms. Johnson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Zach Finley. May I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge? Louder.
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Ms. Backus, what's the plea recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. It is 12 months I'm sorry, I'm looking at my jailing screen. 12 months, 42 days to serve, credit for time served, 21 days, balance suspended, and stay away from the incident location, which is the Meridian located at 3334 Peachtree Road.
That's is that a hotel?
I believe so, yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Or I'm sorry, it's a condominium.
Condominium complex, okay. Mr. Finling, do you stipulate to the factual basis venue and ID, as well as does your client accept the terms?
Yes, Judge, those are our understanding of the terms. We do agree and do so stipulate, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with Mr. Finling?
Yes, ma'am.
Is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
If you decide to plead guilty to this charge, you will have to give up your right to a trial, to give up your right to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, challenge the state's evidence, and have it try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of loitering and prowling?
Guilty.
The sentence is 12 months to serve 42 days, credit for time served 21 days. Your jail time for this case is concluded. The remainder is suspended. You'll be released within 24 hours, and that closes your case out. Do not return to the Meridian condominium complex. Otherwise, you will face new charges for criminal trespass, and I'm not sure what else.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have position 28, 2A, Ms. Pierce.
All right. This is Miss Helen's case. So Mr. Finling, if you want to contact, was it Miss Jackson at South Annex? You have the number?
Yes, I do. I'll call right now.
Okay, thank you. Khadijah Pierce is case number 20 CR 0041888. Ms. Pierce has been accused of simple battery from February 11th, 2019. Ms. Pierce, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Patrice Helen. This is going to be a negotiated plea. May I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Bacchus, what is the plea offer for Ms. Pierce?
Your Honor, the state's offer is 12 months, 30 days to serve, credit for time served, 8 days, balance probated, 8 weeks of anger management, and no further violent contact with Xavier Lowe, that is Lowe.
And that was no further violent contact.
Violent contact. This case happened back in 2019, Your Honor.
Okay, did you say Xavier?
Yes.
Did we have him on the calendar?
No, not a Mr. Lowe.
I don't believe so.
All right. Just want to make sure. Thank you. All right.
Yes, Your Honor. That is our understanding of the plea. We do stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID. It's a probated sentence, so we are asking for those probation fees to be waived until the end of January 2023. And if the state's amenable, she can be non-reporting once she completes those.
Any objection?
No.
No. Ms. Bacchus, how do you feel about it?
I was like, where did that no come from? I'm sorry. Let's see. The only thing I would say, Your Honor, is that she does have, it looks like an open case, 22 CP 208181 from April of this year, which is possession of a Schedule I or Schedule II controlled substance, 2 counts of theft by receiving, reckless driving, missing plate, speeding, seatbelt, expired, no license on person, fleeing, eluding, hit and run, and she's already out on a 15K split bond. So I will defer to you on that, Judge. We do just want her to complete the 8 weeks anger management, and I'll defer to you on the rest.
Yes, I'll do it non-reporting. even being non-reporting, she's technically still on probation. So yes, I'll agree to that, and I'll waive probation fees to the end of January 2023. So Ms. Helen, we stipulate to the factual basis, venue and ID, yes?
I do, Judge.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Pierce, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings and your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with the representation?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to take this plea, you would have to give up your constitutional right to go back to court, to have a trial in front of a judge or a jury, to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, challenge the state's evidence, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you entering a plea freely, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Could you repeat that, please?
Are you entering your plea freely, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Yes.
Miss Helen, how many more days does she have to serve at the jail?
For Miss Pierce, I have that this is
Serve 30 days,
done
credit for time served, 8 days?
8 days, right? So
I think 7. Cause she's got credit for 8 days. She would have to serve 15. So she should be serving 7 more.
Was
Judge,
it to
I made
serve
a miscalculation. I thought that was for time served, Judge. So this is going to be a non-negotiated plea.
Wait, okay, so why would it be non-negotiated? It's 12 months, 30 days to serve, credit for time served 8 days.
Okay, so you're telling her to serve 30 days, right? Correct?
Yeah, correct.
And you're giving her credit for 8 days.
That's an additional 8 days. I thought it was a time served deal. So Judge, we're going to go non.
Wait, no, let's not run that fast right now. So she's giving her credit. I mean, she has 14 more days to serve at the jail. And that would mean that she has 7 actual more days to serve at the jail. So was the state intending for it to be a time served and then be placed on probation?
Yes. No, it was not intending for it. That I don't believe so. This was an approved, this offer was approved, and this is the way that it was sent by ASG Walker. So I don't believe that we were intending for it to be a time served.
So the state intended for her to spend 7 more days at the Fulton County Jail?
That's correct.
Okay, so Miss Helen was under the impression that this was to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. So, or it was to serve 16 days, credit for time served 8 days.
That's not, I don't believe that's what was sent over.
All right. All right. I thought this was listed as a negotiated plea.
It
So
was.
the portion that is not negotiated, or the portion that's in dispute, is the jail time.
Correct, Judge.
All right, so thankfully, Ms. Pierce has not entered a plea yet. So Ms. Helen, tell me why it should be no additional jail time.
Judge, when I went down and spoke to Miss Pierce, number one, she's trying to be released so that she can become employed. She's looking for employment. She also has family here, her father in Fulton County, Judge. And so when I spoke to her, we were under the impression that it was a time served deal, not for the additional 8 days, Judge. And so we are looking to request that it be a time served plea with the probation. She understands she did something wrong, Judge, so she agreed to the probation quickly, but we're asking for time served here.
All right. Ms. Bacchus and
Yes, Your Honor. So I would say that I don't, the state's position is that the extra 7 days is not egregious. Again, this is her 6th arrest. All of them are within the last 3 years. She's got an arrest in February of 2019 for battery, in July of 2019 for theft by shoplifting, in December of 2020, she's got the driving without a license. She's also wanted out of College Park for an FTA. She's wanted for vehicle theft by receiving out of South Fulton in December of 2020, Your Honor. So based on that history and that open case, the state doesn't feel as though the 7 days is outlandish. And that's our position.
And Judge, I believe that 2019 case is the one we're discussing right now, the February 11, 2019. So Judge, from her history, I don't see that this is like a long-standing violent offender. When I spoke to Ms. Pierce, she understands she did something wrong. She wants to accept the probation, the year reporting, 8 anger managements, and the no further violent contact with Mr. Xavier Lowe. When I spoke to her, she did not, she wanted to resolve this case, has no more contact with Mr. Lowe, although he's told the state he wants contact. She wants no contact, Judge. She wants to be released, get a job, and continue her life, Judge. So we are asking for time served with the probated sentence, Judge.
Considering the age of the incident and the fact that she's right now on bond on any other matters, I'm going to accept the defense's recommendation. This will be a sentence of 12 months to serve 16 days, credit for time served 8 days. She'll be released within 8 days. I mean, within 24 hours, excuse me, released within 24 hours to be placed on probation. She will need to report to probation next Thursday and begin her anger management classes within 30 days of being released. Again, the probation fees will be waived until the end of January 2023, and there will be non-reporting once she completes the anger management classes. All right, so to resume with this, Ms. Pierce.
Yes, ma'am.
The sentence, if you still want to proceed, is requiring you to if you accept it, you'll be released within 24 hours, but you need to report to probation by next Thursday and begin your anger management classes within the next 30 days.
Yes.
Is that something you'd like to do?
Yes, ma'am.
And of course, have no further contact with Xavier Lowe.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So as I was saying, if you decide to take this plea offer, you will have to give up the constitutional right to go back to court, to have a trial in front of a judge or a jury, waive your right to confront your accuser, have the state try to prove the charges brought against you in front of beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to waive these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of simple battery?
I plead guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 16 days, credit for time served 8 days. You'll be placed on probation. You report next Thursday. You complete an 8-week anger management program at an approved agency. You begin the classes within 30 days of being released. Probation fees are waived up to and including January of 2023. Probation will be non-reporting if you complete your anger management classes. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Next is we're going back to Ms. Jackson, position 18.
Mr. Finling, you've spoken to your client, Shakina Jackson. She's already been advised of her rights. This is position 1822 CR 0012298. What would she like to do?
Yes, Judge. She does want to move forward.
What did she say, Ian? That you said she said that I didn't hear.
Brittany. Yes, sir.
Muting Judge Law, muting.
Okay, thank you. All right, we don't want to hear. Okay. No comment. Okay. So, so sorry, Mr. Finling, I apologize. What would your client like to do?
Yes, Judge. Ms. Jackson does want to move forward with a guilty plea, and I did go over obviously the rights that she's given up, and she does want to move forward.
All right. Ms. Jackson, just to resume your case again, instead of this being an arraignment where you plead not guilty, we are now going to switch gears, and this is going to be a plea hearing where you've decided to accept the state's offer and instead plead guilty to these charges. Is that your understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And has your attorney explained to you by pleading guilty to driving your license suspended or revoked will then resuspend your driver's license?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And, okay, go ahead and raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm that the other right hand?
I'm sorry.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm that the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Jackson, do you stipulate to the fact, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Findling, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
I do, Judge.
Okay. Ms. Jackson, have you consumed any alcohol or medication recently?
No, ma'am.
Have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you, is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
And are you doing so freely, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's been explained to you, I hope, that if you take this plea, that you would have to give up your right to go back to court, to have a trial in front of a judge or a jury, to challenge the state's evidence of these charges brought against you, to confront your accuser, to examine witnesses, and have the prosecution try to prove the 3 charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to 1 count of driving while license suspended or revoked, giving false information to an officer, and operating a vehicle without proper lights?
I'm guilty.
Your sentence for all 3 charges are concurrent. It's going to be 12 months to serve 10 days, credit for time served, 10 days, balance suspended. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Stand over there, please. No. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Judge.
Your Honor, give me a minute. I have to go get Miss Brown for probation revocation, and I'll be right back.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go in a breakout to do my competency calendar. So if you don't see me on the screen, I'll be back.
Okay, position 30, Ms. Pollard. She was released 9/28/2022.
Which one is this?
Position 30.
30.
Shayla Pollard.
Okay, position 30 was released. All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Judge,
Yes, Mr. Murphy,
I have Christopher Harris.
on the competency calendar.
Yes.
Okay, we are going to go into a breakout room. It will be, it'll be myself, Mr. Walker, Mr. Howard, Mr. Dennis Murphy, Keisha. All right. Let me see. Samantha Johnson. Who is Samantha Johnson, please?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. My name is Samantha Johnson. I'm here representing Laney Close and Grady Health System. We're here for Mr. King's competency hearing. Ms. Close is the medic that Mr. King assaulted.
Okay, you can, and Mr. Jordan, please add Miss Samantha Johnson. I will bring Miss Laney in if required, okay?
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Judge.
Judge, I'm sorry, I was on the phone. You need your breakout room?
Yes, for Mr. Walker, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Howard, Keisha, and Samantha Johnson. You will see her on the participant list. And Mr. Murphy, don't forget Mr. Murphy.
Mr. Jordan?
All right, South Annex, Deputy Milton, are you ready?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
okay, thank you. I have a position, this is our probation revocation case. And who do we have? Miss Trina Harris, thank you for being so patient.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
You know, the short straw to get the almost last case today. Okay. All right, Jordan Drina Brown, case number 18 CR 002283B. Ms. Brown, my name is Judge Lal, and we have a probation revocation hearing, a hearing to revoke your bond in this particular case, in which you were convicted of certain traffic offenses, including giving false information to an officer. And this was from a May 15th, 2017 incident date. I'd like to first remind you that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of the case, the statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is going to be Mr. Zach Finling. Our probation officer is first going to let us know the reason why they're seeking a revocation and what is their recommendation. And then after that, I will hear from your attorney. Ms. Trina Harris, if I may place you under oath, do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, tell me about Ms. Brown's conviction.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Brown was sentenced to probation on July the 17th, 2019 to 12 months on probation to complete 100 hours of community service. Ms. Brown failed to report to probation, and that's why a warrant was issued for her arrest. Probation's recommendation is to actually time serve and to close her case.
Okay. And Mr. Finling, do you know how long she's been in custody?
See, Judge, I'm trying to pull it up. My Odyssey keeps on saying certificate authority invalid. I've been trying to pull it up, Judge, for like the last 10 minutes, and Odyssey is.
Oh, okay, hang on. I've got it up. I've got it up. So.
She was booked in on September 22nd, 2020.
Okay. So she's been in custody for 8 days. So the state is willing to give her credit for the 8 days and commute the sentence and close it out. Is that
Yes.
something your client would like to do?
Yes, Judge, that is my understanding. And she is definitely, that sounds good to her. I did review where she fell short, and that was the 100 hours community service. And there were a few times that she did not report, as just stated. So we are in agreement with what the state would like.
Okay. Ms. Brown, this will be marked as a probation violation on your record. However, based on the officer's recommendation, I will give you credit for the 8 days, commute the rest of the time, and close the case out. Your obligations for this case is over. Thank you.
That concludes my business, Your Honor. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Harris. Debbie Milton, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, take care.
Bye.
I have a DV bench warrant reset case for position number 1, State versus Antonio Agnew, 21 CR 005-299J. I have a gentleman here who's appeared as a Zoom user. Sir, if you can unmute and identify yourself, please. Need to unmute your screen.
Yeah, Mr. Agnew, just hit the little microphone button. There you go.
All right, could you please identify yourself?
Antonio Agnew.
All right. Mr. Agnew's case was arraigned on October 26, 2021. He received an amended bond order on October 28, 2021. He was accused of 1 count of battery, domestic violence, and obstruction of a law enforcement officer from February 28, 2019. Conditions of the bonds were no further violent contact with the alleged victim, and no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. The standard bond order requires him to maintain a current address at all times. We got a return mail on August 3rd, 2022. And he failed to appear before Judge Besson on August 25th, 2022. A bench warrant was issued and his bond was forfeited. So Mr. Agnew, I guess, has submitted a request to set aside the bench warrant and to reinstate his bond. Okay. Mr. Agnew, please remember you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of your case, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Mr. Findling. Mr. Findling, it's the defense motion. What's the reasons?
Yes, Judge. Am asking for the bench warrant to be set aside. Just a little bit about Mr. Agnew. He is employed. He works at Ace Advantage in the shipping and receiving industry. He does have 4 kids, ages 17, 16, 5, and then 1 on the way. I do have a good address for him, Judge, and this Emily Place address in Atlanta. As you pointed out, there was a return to sender on August 3rd, so he did not receive notice, Judge, and he unequivocally would have been at court if he had received notice. Now, I don't think that is indicative of how he would be. With
Mr. Finley, I'm sorry not to cut you off, but the state was going to agree. So
Okay.
just to save the court's time, I don't want to be rude, but I don't want you to present a whole argument.
No, you're not being rude. If you're agreeing with the defendant, they never considered that as rude.
And I think the victim, Ms. Powell, can you turn your camera on?
Lolita Powell.
Yeah, the victim's present. I don't know. She's been on for a while, so I don't know if she can.
All right, this is a new thing. Okay, so Mr. Findling, the state is not objecting, so I'm setting aside the bench warrant.
Well, just one thing, Your Honor, if I could have Ms. Powell come on, put on the record that she's in agreement with the set aside and she's not in fear.
Okay,
Just so
Ms.
we can place
Lolita
on it.
Powell, if you could please unmute. Where's she
Yes,
go? Okay,
Yes,
Ms.
ma'am.
Powell, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony provided will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Walker, you can direct your question to her.
Ms. Powell, are you okay with the bench warrant being set aside in Mr. Agnew's case, where you're the victim?
Yes, sir.
And are you in fear or for your safety at all?
No, sir, not at all.
So based upon that and based upon the fact that the defendant did update his address, the state is consenting to a one-time set aside order and nothing further from the state. And sorry for interrupting.
No, like I told you, totally welcome. Thank you. All right, Mr. Agnew, based on the solicitor's representation, the bench warrant is set aside. Your $4,000 surety bond is reinstated. All conditions of the original and the amended bond order remain in place. If you ever change your phone number, email, and or address, the first thing you need to do is notify the court in writing. All right? And if there are any future mail that doesn't reach you and Judge Besson has a court and you don't show up, the likelihood of getting it set aside is very, very small.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you're free to go. Thank you, Ms. Powell. Thank you, Mr. Agnew.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Powell. Thank you, Judge and Public
Well,
Defender and District Attorney.
All right, so I still don't see Mr. Murphy back on the Zoom. I have no idea where he just may head to another Zoom hearing. But just to go, attorneys to go over the calendar on the bench warrant calendar. Position 1, Agnew, the bench warrant is set aside by consent. And position 2, Alvin Jones will report to the jail before midnight this Friday, September 30th, and to be released on a total $3,000 signature bond through pretrial. Probation revocation calendar, Ms. Brown, her case has been administratively closed. The add-on case, Courtney Garrett, position 1 is null crossed. And going back to our state all-purpose calendar, position 1 was a plea. Position 2 was a plea. Position 3 is reset to October 4th for, I think, for conflict counsel to be appointed. Position 5, 6, 7, excuse me. Position 4, 5, 6, 7 are pleas. Position 8 and 9, that's Keith Elam. Private counsel Rodney Williams did not appear.
Your Honor, the defendant has been released too.
Okay, so this is released and further notice. Position 8 and 9 is released and further notice. Thank you. Position number 10 is reset 10-6. Position 11, public defense has filed a waiver of arraignment. So this case is further notice for trial. Position 12 is reset 10-4 for private counsel. Position 13, Archie Hollis is reset to 10-6, still in custody. Position 14 is a plea. 15 was arraigned and further notice. 16 was, and 17, Mario Jackson was arraigned and further notice. Position 18. Did we take a plea? We took a plea, right, on Shashina
Yes.
Jackson? Okay.
Yes, Judge.
Position 19 and 20 are pleas. 21, 22, 23, 24 are all pleas. 23 was a plea taken previously. 25 and 26 are pleas. 27 is reset to October 20th for attorney Jerome Lee to communicate with his client. Position 28 is a plea. 29 is arraigned and further notice for trial. Position 30, Pollard is released. 31, Ryan Powers is reset to October 6th for a plea. 32, Robert Stewart. What's the announcement?
That's gonna be reset to October 4th.
Okay. 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, and were pleas. 38, Brandon Wood was arraigned for further notice for trial, bond modified to 2,500 surety. Okay, were there any questions on any of the cases? Okay, Mr. Murphy has joined us, so if all the other attorneys don't have any other matters, well, you all are free to go. Mr. Jordan is going to place Mr. Murphy, Mr. Walker, and
I think that's,
me in a breakout, please. And Ms. Backus in a breakout, please.
Ms. Backus is free to go.
Oh, Ms. Backus is free to go. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
You as well.
Thank you, Judge.